Yeah, man. Thursday night reality check. It's time to cope tonight, fellas.
Bring it on.
I am Copey Bruno, and I have a great panel tonight. We have Dr. Gonzo, coping PhD, and of course, Primal Cope tonight. How you guys doing?
Going good. I got my cope stick ready.
Coping.
Fantastic.
And it's a longer cope stick for longer coping pleasure.
This is good. Well, it's going to be a good night tonight, guys. We are going to talk about the word cope and coping and all the definitions it has. We see coping memes. I mean, coping is a meme in itself. Would you agree, Gonzo?
Oh yeah, like I've seen it. Like the I don't know. I saw like the picture of Pepe, and he's got the face mask, the oxygen mask on, and it says like copium. It's amazing.
Let's say hi to everybody in the chat. We got Jay Mesa, Peg Bell, Vivian. Hold the truth hostage. Take the Tony pill, aka the adaptive pill. Now that's a great cope right there. I mean, So Alexio, Tony pill Thursday. Yes, sir, buddy. That's what it's about. So, but let's go ahead and start out with coping. Let's look at the definitions because I'm sure you guys will agree that the definitions have changed. I think this word has become a kind of a living organism in itself, we'll say. So let me look at the first definition of coping. Okay, when we think of coping, we don't want to say something is negative or positive, but I think when you hear the word coping, you would think that it's an improvement to your life. But I think we're going to kind of bust that one in pieces tonight. So we got Primal Cope. He's coping with a light right now. Or a ceiling fan. I'm not sure.
Ceiling fan.
All right. So coping, a person's patterns of response to stress and conflict to prevent setbacks, failures, loss, and trauma. So that's the first definition. Gonzo, do you have any definitions of coping?
I've got a couple. I've got I don't know why this one says the top of a strong brick wall or a sloping brick wall. Anyway, that's not correct, but I guess that is a form of cope. But Merriam-Webster says to deal with and attempt to overcome problems and difficulties, often used with the word with. So you're coping with something. To maintain a contest or combat, usually on even terms or with success. So there's that. And then an Urban Dictionary, my favorite one, this is like the modern one, says a cope or a coping mechanism is a psychological strategy whereby someone rejects a harsh truth and adopts a less disturbing belief instead. It is a term often used by looks-maxing incels to indicate that a given strategy is invalid or ineffective. And the example reads, Unlovable says, yo, I got a 1.5 millimeter derma roller. How often can I use it? Skin Maxer responds, 1.0 plus millimeter derma rolling is a cope. 0.7 millimeter max. Also, don't derma roll. Derma stamp instead. Derma rolling is a cope. So.
Now, I think would that be? Well, let me go over this other definition I have for coping. This one's pretty deep. It says, coping means to invest in one's own conscious effort to solve personal and interpersonal problems in order to try to master, minimize, or tolerate stress and conflict. The psychological coping mechanisms are commonly termed coping strategies or coping skills. The term coping generally refers to adaptive or constructive coping strategies. That is, strategies which reduce stress in contrast with other coping strategies that may be coined as maladaptive. if they increase stress. Now, I like that. That's really cool the way that's put. Maladaptive coping is therefore also described based on its outcome as non-coping. Furthermore, the term coping generally refers to reactive coping, i.e., the coping response which follows the stressor. This differs from proactive coping, in which coping responses aims to neutralize a future stressor. Some subconscious or unconscious strategies are generally excluded from the area of coping. So that tells you a lot. I mean, I guess maladaptive coping would be, I guess, based on a bad outcome. Is that what kind of what it's saying there? Would you guys say?
Yeah, well, I would say that, and I would even add like I mean, it's like a good cope, bad cope. Like one way you could cope with a situation is to like drink a bunch, or like you could, you know, you could do something destructive to yourself. You know, so that's a bad cope right there. It's a maladaptive cope, I guess, as it said.
Well, I came up with my own new definition of coping. And I think the new definition, or we'll call it the revised cope, would be bullshitting yourself. Would you guys agree?
Yeah.
You know, I think
strongly.
Yeah, I think that when somebody says you're coping, you're really bullshitting yourself. I think that's what's really, really happened. Yep. Bald MH. Copeology, the study of cope. I love it. Yeah. And anybody that comes on tonight too, I'll put the StreamYard link here shortly in the chat, but I'd like to see you join in. I'd like to see you use the word cope in your name if you'd like. So, but me and Primal Cope were talking about this the other day, and he came up with something really good. And you want to talk about it? Let's talk about it.
Yeah. Are you comforting a coper? Are you comforting a coper?
So tell us what you mean by that, because this gets really deep.
Oh, great. Now we got a lot of noise. How about you start off and then I'll fill in?
Well, it's a tough one. Comforting a coper, that means I think you're, oh God, what's the word? I think that would mean you are, I don't want to say buying into the bullshit, but I think you're just, God, how can I explain this? This is a tough one. So
yeah, that's why I passed it to you.
Yeah, somebody who's coping. I think what's when you say comforting a coper, what you're doing is you're not really helping the person. You're just kind of agreeing with them.
You're just adding to their cope.
Yeah, you're adding to their cope, without a doubt. Yeah. Enabling. That's a good one, Peg. Enabling. That's it. Yeah. There are more, Vivian says there are more maladaptive coping strategies than positive.
Here's a word: pacifying them.
Mm-hmm.
Keeping them in the same state.
Yeah.
Encouraging them to stay in the same state.
Wow. Caduceus made a great point here. It can be done to enable a person or manipulate them. I love that. John Steele says similar to giving an addict money. Don't underestimate mankind's ability to cope. Yeah. Grifting or pandering.
Mm-hmm. The Oprah Winfrey business model. Tell them what they want to hear.
Alexio says Carolina Hermes is coping by trashing men and dating other women. Okay. Amazing. Yeah, so let's go into deeper to comforting the coper. What's an example of comforting a coper?
Give an affection. to someone that needs a hard kick in the butt, not affection.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Gonzo? Comforting a coper.
Comforting a coper. Yeah, that's deep. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I think like what you said. It kind of makes me think of passive aggression.
A
Really,
little
it kind of
bit.
makes me think. Yeah, just like in a way, like you tell people what they want to hear, not what they need to hear. There's an element of that.
Let's
So,
use.
or,
Yeah.
or like with like look at like these past this past year and a half or so. I mean, look at this. This is all like we're seeing the copening. This is the great copening happening every day. Okay, and now with like the CDC is like we're gonna go back on everything we just said, but it's okay, everybody. It's fine. You get your little boosters and everything. There's a lot of that going on. So I guess they're trying to comfort the copers by saying it's all right. You just get your little government mandated. Your little go get it. We'll give you some stimmies. Stimmies are a cope. There you go.
The stemio.
Just a couple ideas there.
Internet algorithms are designed to feed your copes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look up
Yes.
something like this is a pro tip for everybody. Go to YouTube and look up something that you may like ideologically or philosophically disagree with, like veganism or I don't know. It could be anything, right? I'll just use veganism as an example. Find a vegan YouTube channel and then look at their comment section. And what you'll see is people are saying, this saved my life, this, blah, blah, blah. Look up another channel, something that to be like blatantly evil. And you'll see people in the comments saying, this changed my life. You're speaking the truth. This is an amazing thing. Keep doing what you're doing. And so what I've learned is that like these comments don't mean anything. They kind of don't mean anything. Because they are feeding the cope. They're giving people what they already want instead of what they need.
Well, would you guys agree that the jab is the biggest cope right now? Absolutely the biggest cope going. Is there any cope bigger in the world than the jab?
Universal basic income.
Yeah.
A cope tool. The jab is a cope tool.
Yeah. The mask and the jab are copes.
My favorite is I did it for my family. I did it for my loved ones.
Mm-hmm.
I did it for my friends.
That's
did
a
it for
cope.
me.
That's
That's
huge.
a major cope. That's a brutal cope. Brutal.
Yeah, I put the StreamYard link in the chat if anybody wants to join in and get in the coping session. It's funny, as a carpenter, coping means something else. I don't know if anybody's a carpenter in the live chat, but I like this. Giga coping.
Giga coping.
I love that. Yeah. Is there such a thing as cope maxing? That's what I want to know. Or a cope cell.
Cope cell for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me pin this. I'm going to pin the StreamYard link so anybody wants to jump on and talk about coping.
I wanted to tell John Steele, yes, I am coping with this cigar. Cigars are my cope.
This right here, this is a very realistic cope.
It's a rope.
Yeah. That's how you cope with, you put a rope around your neck. That's a cope.
Cope on a rope.
Cope on a rope.
Is there? There's like a Catholic version with the Pope on it.
That's horrible to say that, but Jesus,
Yeah.
It was kind of funny. Cope on a rope. Oh, jeez.
Cope on a rope.
I mean, that is a way to deal with your situations. That's not a good way to do it. That's a bad
Yeah,
cope, but
that's probably the worst cope that you could think of. Alexio, do you guys think there will be a new lockdown with the Delta variant? I think it's already happening.
guaranteed. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's already happening. So
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, because the CDC or whatever, like they already have had to go back and say, well, now because of the Delta variant, now everybody has to wear the mask again.
Yeah.
And so I just think it's right around the corner if they're not already doing it.
yeah, let me. I see John Steele. John Steele, I'll bring you on here in a second, man. I see you backstage.
Happy birthday, Emmanuel.
I want to say happy birthday to Emmanuel Godson. Happy birthday, brother.
Happy birthday.
47th. Good. I see you're hitting the weights too. Good for you, man. That's a good cope. It's hitting the weights. Yeah, I like that. I saw the one video you put out, but yeah, happy birthday to
Emmanuel's hitting the weights.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
He's playing. He even put it on video. He's not playing. So coping or talking, contractor term. There he is, Anthony Velasquez. Long time, man. I don't see him in my chat on oh, there he is. Okay. On the YouTube. Good. Let me look at some more comments here real quick.
Look at Darkest Night's last comment. And hey, Peg, good to see you here, as always.
Having a birthday coping by celebrating your body degrading and dying. I sent cope.
These are great comments. Let me bring on John Steele. John Steele, how you doing?
Good evening, gentlemen. How is everybody doing this Thursday night?
Very well.
Doing good.
I have a question.
Sure.
Are avatars a cope?
Only if you're ugly like me.
Is that a cope?
Yeah, that's a cope. Or
Yeah.
I guess because some of the stuff I've said online could have negative impacts on myself and people I work with. So
Gotcha.
I guess it might be a cope, but a positive cope.
A safety cope.
Safety cope, yeah.
Yeah, that's a safety cope.
Well,
I'm gonna bring on Copefessor Caduceus.
What's up, gentlemen?
Good to see you. Yeah.
Good to see you
You joined the party. Awesome.
at a coping party.
Oh,
This
because you guys were
This
talking
is a
about the
coping
jab.
party.
You guys were talking about the jab. I remember I read a comment in my Twitter feed about how people that will choose safety over liberty. And I think that the mask, the jab, the lockdown, you notice the type of personalities that gravitate to that versus the types of personalities that say, you know what, there's a risk. Like, my doctor and I kind of got into like a friendly argument about the jab because I'm not going to get it. And I said to him, I says, look, here's a news flash that you're probably aware of since you're a physician, but we're all going to die.
Yep. That's the most important thing you can know in your life.
Yes. There was a quote actually by another doctor I met once that said, speaking about death, he says, respect it, avoid it, but never fear death.
That's and actually I think the whole reason why all this stuff happened, right, or a lot of the reason why is because people can't cope with the idea of their own death.
Mm-hmm.
Well, part of why we bring up coping in the manosphere, the truth-seeking area, is that people have been fed this fantasy land, and then once that it gets lost and they find the truth, they're coping with what they lose. Like traditionally, you think of coping when a loved one dies, and some people cope healthily by talking with their family, looking at their support system, and others go down deep rabbit holes that are of self-destruction, like alcohol, drugs, whatever. So it's a similar idea, but instead of losing a family member, they're losing their entire perception of reality.
They're tuning out.
Did you hear what I said earlier, Co-Professor Caduceus, about kind of my newer definition of coping would be somebody that's just bullshitting themselves.
Bullshitting themselves. Yeah, I mean, like in this, I think it only applies to the specific scenario when they finally get hit with the full reality, when they bullshit themselves. Because I don't know, because a part of it could be moving on in a way, depending on what you're coping from. Like, but the truth is always going to be here. You're always going to be slapped with the truth. So if you're coping about reality, you are bullshitting yourself, because you always have to deal with the truth every single day. Well, you're not going to have that your family member die every single day. That's going to be one event in your life that you're going to move on from.
I see what Tony said is kind of an avoidance cope when you're bullshitting yourself. It's you're avoiding dealing with the truth. So is that kind of in line what you were thinking, Tony? Yeah,
it is. I mean, and again, that's my simple new definition of the word cope. So when I hear that, when I hear like Richard Coper, when I saw that for the first time,
that's funny. I like that.
Rich Cope, baby.
It really, just so you guys know, Richard Coper was, because everybody's a Coper tonight, so I don't care. But Rich Cooper, I considered him a personal friend. I don't know if you guys know that, but a lot of these guys I knew personally. If I have your phone number in my phone, you're usually a pretty good friend. But a lot of that has fallen by the wayside, we'll say, in the past, we'll say, year and a half, 2 years. So I guess they couldn't cope with me,
I guess.
that's the reality, and that's the truth.
No, Tony, I think it was you weren't willing to pay the $2,000 an hour for your conversations.
Or he's coping that he's in his McLaren right now while you're on live stream.
Does he have a McLaren?
I don't know. I don't know. He always has the cars. He's the entrepreneur in car thing.
He has an Audi R8. That's what he has.
Okay.
And I think it's
named Lopez thing.
And I think it's named Rachel.
Okay, that's talk about Coper right there.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he named it, the girl's name. I'm just saying. I don't know. Is that to name your car a woman's name?
I mean, hey, he could do what he wants.
But I don't think he has a McLaren. I know it was an April Fool's joke a couple years ago.
Or he leases them out as he likes driving them. That's another thing.
That's possible too. I actually was in Cocoa Beach, Florida here last week. I was driving behind I tried not to get too close too, because I'm like, geez, I don't know if my insurance would cover if I banged into that McLaren while I'm trying to see if it wasn't. I'm like, I know I got good insurance, but I'm not sure how much that car costs, so I'm going to back off a little. But I did see McLaren. It is a beautiful car. So, but so let's get back into coping. Primal Cope came up with a great thing we talked about the other night, and I want John Steele and Co-Professor Caduceus to comment on this. He said, "Are you comforting a coper?" Now think about that. And we brought that up earlier. So, like you said, I saw your comments in there. So, wanted to expand on that a little, Caduceus, because I think this is kind of deep.
Well, part of it, though, I'm saying that you can enable someone in problematic thinking, keep letting them believe their lies, so they keep making the same mistake over and over again. And the other way you can manipulate them, you can tell them exactly what they want to hear and then sell the golden solution that is complete bullshit. And we see with a lot of these courses, you're comforting a coper in a way. And through pandering and grifting, the Oprah Winfrey model, as Gonzo said, same thing, same idea. You're comforting all those copes. It's not your fault. You have no agency in your life. Well, that's kind of a straw man in there, but it's kind of like it's not because of these harsh realities that you're not getting results. You can just change this one switch in your life and you'll be golden, when nothing's guaranteed.
Yeah. As Gene and I call it, it's the dangling. These guys, they dangle. It's like, oh, you want success? Okay, well, you gotta follow my little cult here. Go ahead and just you gotta follow my rules.
Well, it's kind of like the whole just have confidence thing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think MD was the first time I ever heard somebody say that confidence comes from success, not failure. And think about that. That's right on the money.
Mm-hmm.
Confidence, you just can't be confident to get what you want. That's a huge cope, is confidence.
I think confidence comes from like knowing and living the truth.
Mm-hmm.
That's where confidence comes from. It's like, you know, like, and the reason why these people, you know, they say like, oh, you can just be confident if you do this or you do that. And they really like, they're not confident. They try to appear confident on the outside, but on the inside, they're incredibly insecure. That's what you find most of the time.
They're out cinemaxing, the acting maxing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to MH, wherever he is. Cinemaxing.
Yeah. That's great.
Projecting.
Yeah, there's a lot of projection in coping, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
Think about it.
Yeah, it's kind of hard though, because chances are you probably are comforting a coper in some way, because there's a lot of areas that you just don't know the truth, and you could be misguiding someone by accident, and it could just align with what someone wants to hear.
I think that's a good point you just raised, Caduceus. I think that there's a difference between people who are enabling a maladaptive cope and may not be aware of it or truly understand it, and those who are like you mentioned about, which was I thought insightful, about manipulating people through, you know, the grifter cope. So there's a difference there, you know. Or like let's say you're the family member of someone that has a substance abuse problem or something, and you're not you're saying, oh, maybe you don't drink too much, and the person is downing a bottle a day,
Yeah, or you don't see them shooting up, and you just see them broke at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and you give them cash so they could pay the bills, and they still come up short somehow.
Right, or just someone that's just has it could be even something not as devious as that. Maybe somebody's just really poor at handling their finances, and you're just always lending them money, because they never just learned to live within their means. I had a roommate like that, no drug problem or anything, just he was impulsive and irresponsible.
Yeah, it's funny because I have we'll call him an ex-friend. I've never had anybody say this to me before, but he actually got upset at me because I wouldn't lend him money. I mean, to me, that's just totally ridiculous. I just don't understand. How could you be upset at me because I wouldn't lend you money? The way he put it is I've asked you before and you never lent me money. And I'm like, yeah, why would I do it now?
That's pretty funny.
I mean, that's the way I coped with that.
You said, "What am I, a bank? I'm a carpenter, not a banker."
It was like he turned the script on me, and I'm like, "Wait a second here, that doesn't make sense." I just didn't understand it. So that's him coping, I guess.
Well, it sounds like a woman thing. It sounds like I don't have control. I don't have control, and so now I'm angry because I'm not controlling the situation.
Well, yeah, I agree. I mean, that's what happens when you live with your ex-wife and you pay for everything. So
fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, there was my cope right there. Like, you buy her 4 cartons of cigarettes a week and you want me to pay for it? I don't think so. There's a point when it comes to you have to cope with lending money. This is one thing I've learned, guys. I don't know. I might be the oldest guy in this panel. I don't know how old anybody else is here. Well, I don't know how old John Steele is. I know all you guys. I think Caduceus, you're in your co-professor. You're in your early 20s, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
You'll realize that don't lend money. There's a cope for you. If somebody needs some money, just give them it. Because most of the time you lend money, you're never getting it back.
Amen to that, brother. You got me only by a few years, but I am I'm on the wrong side of 50.
Okay. So,
You know, I thought this was interesting, right? Tell me if you guys knew about this, but back in the day, like I want to say, like, I don't know, this is around like Dante era, you know, Dante's Inferno, the Divine Comedy and stuff. They in that era in history, they believed that, you know, like giving somebody money and then asking for more back, like the way a credit card company would, like a credit company, is actually wrong. It's immoral. It's sin. It's evil, because it interrupts the natural process of things. Like, you should work for your money. You shouldn't be giving people money and then asking for more back. Like, it just was morally unacceptable back then. And I thought that was really interesting.
well, that's a loan shark, or don't they call them a Shylock? Isn't that another word for somebody who loans money with interest?
Yeah.
Shylock.
Like payday
Or,
loans and stuff.
Or being Jewish, right? That's
Yeah.
part of the religion is.
Yeah, that'll get us banned.
There you go.
Hey, sorry, yeah. Cokes.
Sorry, you can't make any of those jokes.
Old cokes
You know,
die hard.
That's funny. You know, you said that because I mean, I grew up with that kind of slang. I mean, I did.
Yeah, me
Yeah.
too. I'm from New York City, so
Yeah, you know, when you went to buy a car, you would say, "I'm going to Jew them down." You know,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I mean,
I still talk. Well, you asked me why I use an avatar, Primal Man. Now, because things like that just slip out.
okay, me too.
Yeah.
There you go.
They're hiding behind their copes.
I'm coping right now. Copy Bruno.
Old copes die hard.
No, but if you're like from like the generation of like Tony and myself, like we just talked like that, and nobody had. You didn't have to worry about everybody's fifis, you know.
What about a Dago?
Oh, Dago, WAP, Greaseball, you know. I mean,
Oh man.
What about
Easy
that?
now.
I got one. Well, no, I mean, you know, I'm Irish. You know?
No, I'm just saying because I'm Italian. So.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, well, you
joking.
got ones from me too. You know, a Mick, Patty, what a potato eater. That's how we grew up. Like when I was in high school, it was a very diverse place, and we had everybody. You know, I always remember there was this basketball game in gym, and we said, well, let's do Irish against Italians, and there was this one kid. He was half Irish, half Italian. His mother was Irish, his father was Italian. It was like Faccialonga, and it was his last name. And we go, all right, Irish against Italians, and we go, what do we do with Foch? Cut him in half? It was like,
Well,
Have you guys seen the movie No Coping for Old Men?
Oh man.
Anyway.
well, I could tell you that my generation, you know, like me and John were talking about, you know, those were just normal things that, you know, it didn't matter. Nobody got butt hurt over their nationality, their race, anything, you know, but now you can take it to the next level. My dad is 85. That is next level when it comes to that.
That's age coping.
Yeah, no, it's oh geez, I saw
Age maxing.
No, there's the age pill I saw. That's first
Age
time I
bill,
saw it.
yeah.
Yeah, like people are worried
that's
about.
new to me. What? I don't know what that is.
Like you got to worry when you get old. I guess I don't know.
Become an old cell.
Yeah, an old self.
Dude, I'm glad you brought up a lot of the identity politics and the people getting offended. That's definitely an area where I'm comforting some copers because I got to play the game if I'm going to get through school, man.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, dude, Caduceus. We know why you use an avatar, man.
Yeah.
There's politics in medicine.
Yeah, and I went to the orientation today. Stuff was kind of scary. Like they were just warning us about like all the people that like shat where they ate and then ended up getting like probation for like the rest of their medical career. It's not worth it. These are my coworkers, they're not my classmates. That's what I found out.
I'm not very old at all, but I remember like even just a few years ago, it seemed like if you went to a company website or you like filled out a job application, you would just, you'd see some info on the job, like what do what the company is about, maybe in brief, and what's required of you and other, bullshit. And now it's just like they always have a paragraph and it's like, we're
saving
inclusion.
the world.
We're saving the world. Diversity, inclusion.
That's another cope that having special titles for regular ass jobs. Mm-hmm. Like instead of being a janitor, you're a sanitation executive or something like that. Or you're president.
Custodial engineer.
Custodial engineer. When I was a scribe, I switched from when I got the slight promotion to become someone that can train scribes. I went from scribe to scribe ambassador. Pay difference $1.
There's so much ego in these job titles and stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's wild. And then
hey, Tony, remember when we used to call them secretaries, not administrative assistants?
Yeah.
You remember that? You're old enough for that?
Yeah, of course. I remember. I mean, think about now it's a flight attendant,
a stewardess.
It used to be stewardess.
Yeah, and
stewardesses used to be hot.
Yeah,
now they have cocks.
What the hell?
Now they're traps.
What the hell happened?
They were copes for plane cells.
Yeah. I mean, that's a major cope. Where did all the PC stuff? I mean, where did it go wrong? That's a cope right there.
From the beginning. Like politically correct.
Well, that phrase is an oxymoron.
Yeah. I mean, I know people, get bent out of shape when I say I don't believe in racism. I just believe in good and evil, good and bad, plain and simple. There's good people, there's bad people. I don't like any of the isms. All the isms are wrong. As soon as I see an ism on the end of the word, I just get turned off. Throw an ism, copism. There you go. Copism.
Copism.
Copism. Now I can just end the stream because I'm here.
Even racism's a cope because it gives you a sense that you're superior over someone else when you're not.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a cope because it's like, we're going to create this fake thing that isn't real, and we're going to use that for the reason why I haven't succeeded in life. That's a major cope.
Yeah.
Cope tube. Yeah. Oh, this is good. This is a great rabbit hole. Who knew? We've been talking about, I have used this word so much this week, unlike I've ever used it. I'll give you an example. An example was like my guy. He's like, you think we're going to be done around 4? I'm like, you're totally coping right now. You're totally coping. And
I'm going to start working that into my lexicon now.
Oh yeah. It just has to be, Let's see. Oh, great. We got some great words here. Oh, here we got mascism. Let me see this one. Cope. How do I say that?
Cope.
Copanimics. Okay, nice.
I was gonna say, isn't it like it almost reminded me of Dianetic
Black Ops spill. But it should be Cope of Duty Black Ops Cell. That's the one. Have you heard of Black Ops Cell or whatever?
No, I haven't heard of that one.
No, he's that like, I don't know, is that like old picture of like the incel with the Black Ops 2 t-shirt and they call him like Saint Black Ops Cell or something.
Darkest Night says if the word cope was a button, it is broken now. It's spring hanging. No, we're going to bust this word cope out tonight. We're just going to tear it to pieces. It's just one of those words where I'm going to say in the past, I'll say 8 months is when I've noticed this word just everywhere, So I had to really dive into what does coping mean. To me, I used to think that, I think me and John Steele, coping was like not, I don't even want to say it's a bad thing now. But it had more of a positive thing. Like, again, you're dealing with something. No, he's coping, he's coping with it.
Yeah, that's true. It did have a totally different meaning for us. Like, well,
Yeah.
And now if we say that we talk to younger people, you're absolutely right.
Well,
Yeah.
I was gonna say, wasn't there a time where, like, if you were going through a hard time and you just like couldn't deal with it, and you went to talk to your dad or your grandpa about it, they would tell you just cope, just basically just overcome it, just deal with it. And now cope is like the opposite. It's like, oh, now you're not dealing with it. It's like,
it had a positive connotation. I'm not sure when it got inverted that way, but yeah, that's how it used to if someone was going through something and, they would say like, he's coping, he's going to the gym a lot, he's, working extra time, or, it meant generally was positive. And I'm not sure when that flipped the 180. Now it's, cope.
Copaception instead of contraception, right?
oh,
I was thinking like Inception, like the.
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Copaception can work too.
Yeah, when you what was it? I said something to Tony earlier. I'm trying to remember what it was. When you're coping because someone's telling you to cope or something. Copeception, cope maxing.
Oh, look at this. Anyone from Coachella?
Coachella.
Yeah, instead of Coachella, we got Coachella. That's another one. That's a great one.
We got to start that one.
Yeah, Coachella instead of Coachella.
Let's go to Indio, California, and start Coachella after Coachella and Stage Cope.
Anthony Velasquez, of course.
Cope Francis.
Our resident Catholic came up with the best one, Cope Francis.
That's good. Props, Anthony.
Why say Copra?
Copra.
Copra Winfrey.
Cope, yeah, Remy, cope used to be a neutral word in my vocabulary. Yeah, me too. Yeah, that's great, man. Yeah. Cope and mate.
Oh my God.
Hold the cope hostage.
Oh God, we're gonna get a bunch of these now.
Yeah, I love it. I knew this was gonna be good, man. I just knew it. I was gonna put COPY, but it said copy, so I just became Copy Bruno. I think that was good for me.
Bruno. Yeah, it works.
Oh God, that's great. Let me see. Let me look at these comments. These comments are really good. Oh, look at that. Thirsty for some Coca-Cola.
I like that one.
I think of the cold cut when I see that. The Coca-Cola. Yeah.
Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola, yeah.
Alexio, it's a Cope dictionary.
Coke. Dude, modern life coping, baby.
The coping male.
Yeah, Copino.
Oh my goodness.
These are good. It's good to laugh, guys, man.
Copo Copasi.
Yep. Yeah, Copo Copasi. There you go.
The rational cope, yeah.
Yep. Copulation. Well, I really did. The coposphere. Yeah, there you go.
That's what this is right now. We're in the coposphere.
Yeah.
Dude, we're the Mecca. The Mecca, we're the Vatican, we're the holy land of cope.
Well, it's funny because one of my notes on here has to do with something that I came up with here this week, which is I want to call like MD and a lot of these guys that we're dealing with Gonzo making his videos, and everybody's made these videos about manosphere content. I'm calling it the manosphere insurrection. What do you guys think of that? Insurrection is another word that kind of has been like you hear insurrection now, and you're like, ooh, everybody's like, no, that's just a rebellion against government or authority. So I think the manosphere insurrection is basically like the insurrection. I don't even like calling that an insurrection, what happened in in January. You wouldn't have called that an insurrection 200 years ago, would you?
No.
So I think the manosphere insurrection is basically just calling out it's calling out the crap. I mean,
calling out the grifters.
Yeah.
And being able to call them out by name and why they're grifters.
Yeah.
I think that's important too. A lot of people say, I don't want to say any names, or it's like, no, if somebody's doing something that's immoral, call them out.
It's a veritable cornucopia.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, the black pill isn't everyone's cup of tea.
That's good.
Tony's changing the Copic. Oh, this is good, man. It's good to laugh. I love it. Yeah, so what do you guys think about manosphere insurrection? What do you think about that? Do you think that's what's been going on? Go to anybody. Anybody jump in, man. What do you think of that?
I don't know. I don't necessarily know if it's insurrection. Like, are they taking over? Or are they just, it's almost like scorched earth. Like, get rid of this sect right here. Let's find new ground together where we're not coping as much.
Well, I don't even know what the manosphere means anymore. So that
yeah, it's pretty broad.
Yeah, so it's you can't really define. At least for me, I don't know what that means anymore. I mean, yeah, I don't know.
It's gone pretty mainstream at this point.
Well, not just that; it's fragmented and there's so much internal division going on there, and it basically started out where it wasn't something people got involved in to try to make a quick buck or scam people. It was just people, speaking the truth as they understood it.
Yeah, or it's like someone was just taken out, and there's now like a power vacuum, and it's just clusters everywhere, which is good. Should all disagree. We shouldn't all agree about everything.
No, but one of the things I think about is the red pill. The red pill. I think the original red pill was on target, but it's been bastardized. So the red pill has become the biggest cope.
Yeah, also the self-appointed priests of the manosphere or the red pill or whatever, like they think they get to decide what it means. Or, like people like Rollo, with like people considering him like the high priest of the red pill or something.
The cope father.
Yeah, the holy beanie, man.
Yeah, the cope father. Yeah.
And I just, I'm not down with that at all.
I always like to give him a shout out too. Rollo, if you're lurking, you're welcome to join the stream. You know that.
He showed up.
Yes.
There he is.
Yeah.
Hypergamy.
Dude, I got to start spinning plates now.
Oh God,
dude!
Absolutely.
I'm so glad he used his analogy because like it's just joining the circus if you follow his advice.
Yeah, the mouse circus. Amazing.
Let's see. Electrical Enigma says the Rollo crew seems to only focus on dating and women, and that gets very boring. Yeah, it does, but there's a lot of corners that tend to deal with that, and I think that's what the truth is all about when it comes to dating. The holy beanie. I love that.
Yeah, I like what was said there about the circus, because I realized it's like, wait, there's a carousel, and there's spinning plates. What else is from the circus?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The bald bastard says she's not yours. It's just your turn to cope.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the cock copicel is what it's called.
Copicel.
Yeah, we can use that word quite a bit, I think, tonight. Yeah, I think what's happened is that the fact that I, even threw out to Rollo and to have a great debate or a great talk with MD and Rollo, I think that's something that the manosphere needs. It's at the point where it's put your money where your mouth is.
I'm really curious to see which one would talk the most.
Boy, that's
We'll have
that's
to see
why
on that one.
moderating would be real important in a stream like that. But I know MD has the balls of them all to jump on that. I mean, I just don't think Rollo is capable of talking with anybody that can out-talk him. Let's put it that way.
The thing about, I think Rollo might talk more because he's got his like own dictionary of words that he's going to use and to sound like a pseudo intellectual and as a and we're gonna be like, okay, let's try make it to layman's terms so everyone can understand and see if you're full of shit or not.
The black pill is the only pill that has gone further beyond dating and into the deepest stuff, especially Tony's last stream. It got really deep. Yeah, it did get deep, man. And I love that.
Hold the Truth had a pretty deep stream. It was like me, Hold the Truth, and then Iori, and we're talking about ghosting and what the future with men, seeing America as just like a work only place, even when you're off. Because the consequences are so great for getting in any sort of entanglement. That's kind of, and then I think Iori said something deep where it was like, real men don't make sacrifices; they make choices. And I think that's something we can take. You just see the truth for how it is, and you choose the good with the bad in either path.
Primal Man, you got anything to say on that?
Just laughing.
Think about it. Choices or sacrifices.
Choices or sacrifices?
I think it's kind of both.
Yeah, but can you sacrifice something you don't have?
Like, what do you mean?
Like if you want something in your life and it involves you losing something else, like you're not, if you choose to stick with what you have, you're not giving anything up. Like in a way, you're making a choice. Like you can't
sacrifice time.
Yeah, time is, and it's time is you're sacrificing, and that's the one resource that cannot be renewed.
But you're choosing how to spend that time. Like you can say a sacrifice in another way is a form of choice.
Yeah. Can't disagree.
But like people tend to add some nobility to their existence by saying, I sacrificed this. No, you made a choice to spend that and go with something else.
Mr. C says you're sacrificing potential.
Yeah, but you're choosing how to use the time. No, you just can't. You can't have everything. That's an unrealistic view of reality.
Not everybody is out here doing what they want to do. Some people are sacrificing what they want to do the right thing.
Put that in some context, Primal Cope.
Yeah, because they're working towards what they ultimately want, though, and they can't have that and stick with their basic primal pleasures.
Yeah, they are working to what they inevitably do want. Yeah.
So, I think what I'm saying is that a sacrifice is ultimately a choice. No way. It's a barrier to entry in some ultimate goal that you have. You can choose to stay down in the depths and not work towards anything, and you keep your fleeting pleasures, or you can spend your time and resources elsewhere and work towards something greater.
Well, I think a sacrifice. I mean, I kind of see what you're saying with the choice thing. Like a sacrifice, I think you're trying to say it's kind of melodramatic the way people are using it.
Yes.
And like to me, a sacrifice would be, let's say, a soldier jumping on a grenade to protect his squad. Like that would be, you could actually use the word he sacrificed his life to save others.
Yeah. No way. Yeah, I just don't like when people say that they're sacrificing. I feel that's a decision for someone else to add value to.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it, is add value. When you say the word sacrifice versus choice,
That's a good smoke.
yeah, that's pretty deep. So you've now made a choice seem like you're doing it for validation is what you're doing it when you say sacrifice.
Yes. Yeah. And I think it's a good exercise in humility to say everything you're doing is a choice.
Yeah, like yourself, like you've made a choice to work hard, give up a huge amount of your time to pursue a degree in medicine, which I'm guessing was, you chose to.
Yeah, I chose to give up a lot of that.
So that brings us into the free will debate once again.
Oh, how does that fit in?
That's tricky. Yeah.
How does that fit in? Lay that down on me.
Yeah, I want to hear this because you lost me with that one. But
the free will.
Yeah.
Well, if everything's a choice, then that means we have free will to choose everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but do you have the free will to have the certain knowledge or decision making? Like that goes pretty deep, and you can go either way there.
I think that's where the two collide.
Because a lot of people act as
free will is really tricky, because I used to be someone that totally believed in like absolute free will, and then the older I got, I started realizing that a lot of things are, the overwhelming majority of things in your life are really beyond your control. Even like let's say like Caduceus, to use you as an example again, like you may have had a strong desire to become a physician, but let's say your IQ was 15 points lower, you just wouldn't have the ability.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to make it.
Right. You would,
Or like if it's like that's like the idea of someone that's like really short trying to go to the NBA. Like chances are it's not happening, pal. No matter how much you.
And then they make the sacrifice. Then they make the sacrifice to bow out of that dream.
I'm like sacrifice.
And you're in that case you're not even sacrificing anything because you didn't have it to begin with.
Yeah.
Well, you think of somebody who has like a food addiction, right? And like, they're having trouble with their weight and they're getting diabetes and all this sort of stuff. They they may be able to address the issue medically, but they're not free from the influence of the spiritual issue that's causing that.
Yeah.
More like genetic issue, I think. Some of these addictions.
I mean, sure.
That's a part of it.
I think that's overblown. I think that's really overblown.
Yeah, I don't know how much. I don't know. Caduceus might be able to speak to this more. Like,
let's just say that there weren't any like fat fucks a couple hundred years ago. Actually, there were, but they were super rich back when people weren't able to.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of, I don't know. I see it more as that a lot of people they need to have a reason. They need to have something to work towards to make losing the weight or living a healthy life even worth it to them. Because if you got nothing going in your life where everything's either handed to you or stuff happens to you and you're kind of a passenger in your own life, what's the point of working to become healthy if you're not doing anything? Why put the weight off your legs if you're not walking around the world and seeing what it has to offer? Or why have an able body if you're not going to use it to build anything or help people? Or
what about these people that live on faith and they do the what the philosophers would say, chop wood and carry water every day, yet their life flourishes and all they're doing is chopping wood.
They have something to work towards. Like they have a reason to live. They have a reason to keep.
It's like the Chinese term wu wei, which means non-doing or non-force. Whereas like if you basically surrender and not try, that's when the things really happen. That's when the explosion of prosperity happens. Then you technically didn't choose to move in a particular direction. You just said, I'm going to stay here and I'm going to do what I got to do today. But then that happens. Then you let go. And I think a lot of people would say that that's happened many times, is that people receive all of these all of this prosperity in life and didn't even try. They just did what they had to do that single day without trying to do extra, without trying to do, more than what they had to do, but they got more.
I mean, if you're consistent like that, you probably are netting a larger total of work than someone else. Like someone else that just sits around and goes in bursts.
That's when the logic takes over from the faith. So, I'm just throwing this out there.
Well, I'm just talking about people that are completely hopeless. Like the only hits of happiness they get are from their vices.
Yeah.
And like you're telling them to make a choice for life when nothing in their life gives them really a reason to work for. So like you're proposing a choice, telling them to lose weight, and based on how their life is going, it's a bad choice because like some people might want to do it because they want to see their daughter grow up, or that's a reason why someone might want to stop doing a drug or lose weight. But if they just got nothing going on or nothing that they feel like they enjoy in their life, what's the point? You're giving them a bad deal by telling them to lose weight because they don't have anything in life to value. So why should they value their body?
Yeah, but is there not an element outside of free will and choice that goes beyond the human?
I mean, probably,
right?
Probably, yeah.
I think scientists would have to agree with that. Correct? Yes or no? I mean,
I can't necessarily say that. I just think that you gotta have something to work towards. Like I don't know, when I dropped about 80 pounds, and
props, man.
And I for me it was like you have to give yourself a good reason. Like if you're doing it for some sort of validation, that's a bad reason to do it, or some insecurity, because you're just going to find something else to be insecure about. And like, think of it though, you're your worst bully every time. So if you fix the weight thing, you're going to find something else to be mad about or pissed off about. I don't know. I got into hiking, and like I really enjoyed a hike, but I couldn't finish it because it kicked my ass. And I was like, you know what? I want to come back later and finish this hike, and I want to be able to. I want to be able to do this all over the world, all over the country, for a very long time. So that was something that drove me into working out and eating better. And then also, I was working in the hospital, seeing people with diabetes lose their legs and have their legs lopped off slowly over years. That was something I didn't want in my life. So I had something to run away from and something to run towards.
Yeah.
I mean, Dr. Gonzo, coping PhD,
Yeah.
you lost what, 125 pounds?
Yeah, it was like 100. It was 100 something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was about at 300. I was pushing 300.
Yeah.
And yeah. Well, and another thing too, I saw this statistic a few years ago, and I thought this was really interesting. That I don't know ballpark, but like most people who are morbidly obese were like molested as children or something. Like they were or something really abusive and traumatic happened to them as children. Mm-hmm. And so and what I've seen and I've heard, people who are morbidly obese talking. I mean, we're talking like the fattest of the fat here. We're not just talking a little bit overweight. We're talking really serious. And,
yeah.
I think a lot of these people are unable to let go of their anger because they're angry, and so then this is how it is manifesting. Like they're unable to control themselves, and so there is no free will in that sense. They're not free of that influence. They're being controlled by their emotions. And you could discipline a person to lose the weight, but they'll still have that anger. And so then, you'll be saved from your diabetes and your gangrene or whatever, but then you can, I don't know, you could move on to literally anything else. Mm-hmm. And that could be the outlet that could manifest itself.
Yeah, I think that's the point I'm trying to make. You got to deal with what's underneath
Yeah.
why you want to live on this planet, because you're doing something self-destructive. You know it's self-destructive, and you know exactly how to get out of the hole because you dug your way there.
Yeah. I think it's more than just having like having like something to, like a goal or whatever to work towards. I think it's just addressing those emotions. It's addressing that unforgiving sort of spirit that's in there.
Yeah. Like if you take it simpler, someone who's a heroin addict, they know they need to stop doing heroin. Like you don't have to tell them to stop. They know that they're killing themselves.
But they can't do it even
But they
though they
can't
know
do
it's
it.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. And they need a reason to do it. They need to deal with the emotions. They need, because their life is hell mentally, as
gotta
you
cope.
said. They're coping in a way.
Yeah.
And so far, them doing the drugs is a better deal than them going off the drugs. And even if their body is healthy, because their mind isn't.
Remy says there's more wrenches in this chat than ever.
Amazing.
Andy Velasquez has a great one here. Cope versus hope.
Go versus hope.
Oh.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Isn't hope a cope sometimes?
Sometimes.
That's not.
Oh, that's
real-
what they call
yeah.
false hope, right?
That's
Yeah.
a bad hope. Unhealthy hope.
I don't know. I think
Unhealthy hope is a cope.
I think hoping. I think if you're relying on hope, I think it's a cope. But sometimes you're just like, hopefully that happens, but I'll adjust if it doesn't. That's not. I don't know.
Cope versus hope versus dope.
Dr. Seuss's cope versus hope.
Oh man.
Well, I think if people become literally hopeless, I mean, that's generally when people become, suicidal or homicidal. They literally don't have any hope for the future.
They out of cope.
Look at the Unabomber. I mean, that guy, he was really intelligent and he had a message and he was pretty based in a lot of what he said, but his problem is that he believed that people wouldn't listen to him. People wouldn't listen to what he had to say. They just thought they would be so diluted by the media and so diluted by, entertainment and all these other things that even if people did hear his message and it resonated with them, they just forget about it because of the onslaught of just constant nonsense media being broadcast. And so his answer to that was to, start sending out bombs, to get his message out there, which is, there you go. That's anger, hopelessness, all of that in one. What a mess.
Well, we got Bane here has a quote. Yeah.
But there cannot be hope without despair.
That's a great thing. Wow. That's good, man.
Yeah, I'd try.
Copeless romantic. Wow. Good one. Is shaving your head a cope? I will tell you right now. I guess it is.
We should ask Elliot Holst about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of the it's unfortunate for you, but it's become the red pill uniform, man.
Yeah, I've never had any issues with it. I really don't. Zero. I started losing my hair in my late 20s, and to be honest, I was shaving my head before it was cool or anybody did it. People thought I had cancer. I forgot. Yeah,
Oh, no.
People thought I had cancer. I had one of the doctors come up in the grocery market and like grab my hand and gave me the double hand too. Like and I'm doing great, good. What's up with you? And I'm like, oh no, I don't have cancer. I'm good. I just shaved my head.
Oh man, you could have started a GoFundMe and everything, man. You could have made a fortune, bro.
Well, this was a long time before GoFundMe. Like I said, I've been, I'm 58. I've been shaving my head since, realistically for probably 27, 28 years.
Well, I remember, I don't know if it's still in style now, but like whenever anyone, it was like just an acquaintance, but I remember he hit when his mom got breast cancer, him and like all his close friends kind of just shaved. it was like they would all shave their head, kind of like in support of it, in support. I don't know if people still do that, but that was a big one.
Solidarity type thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I stand in solidarity with cancer.
There
Oh
you
wait,
go.
hang on.
Oh, wait.
The wrong way to say
Well, not
it.
with the cancer,
Copadarity.
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 Some guys
gonna
shave their head because they're poor. He said, "Yeah, it makes sense."
Gentlemen, I gotta go. I got a 7 o'clock. I'm already late for, but thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Bravo, man, everybody.
Yeah, good to see you, John Steele.
All right, man.
Been
You guys
amazing.
take care.
You
Have a
take
good
care.
one.
Yep. Have a good coping evening. Sure.
Good cope.
Cope-tacular.
Krilling maxing.
I was gonna say though, shaving your head, because like Elliot Hulse, he has like the most varied hairstyle I've ever seen.
Yeah.
The dude has had every hairstyle.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing.
I've got a picture of me and him from like a month and a half ago, probably. We were all hanging out, and yeah, he had his head shaved pretty tight that night. So, I just what do we have here? The Cope Shank redemption.
There you go.
That is actually, you know what, if you want to get if you want to have an education on coping, further your education on coping, watch that movie, Shawshank Redemption. That's a cope right there. There's a lot of coping in that movie. Now that I think about it. There was that one guy, the one guy who went to jail, and he basically became used to jail, and then he couldn't cope with the outside world. That was brutal.
Remy says buzz cut versus shaving bald.
What's good?
I've lost it right here. I could have a little bit right here and here, but I just shave it every day. I just don't even care. It's funny too, because I can tell you that when I first shaved my head, there was a different. Okay, we'll say I don't know if you guys, do you know what a skullet is? Do you guys know what a skullet is?
Oh, is it like bald and then the long hair in the back?
Oh, yeah.
So the
Yeah.
Rolo.
Yeah, pretty much. That's a skullet. Yeah. So, but what I did notice is when I shaved my head, I had a whole different batch of women that were attracted to me. It made a big change in my life when it comes to attraction.
It's like with beard length.
I'll be honest. Either a woman likes it or they don't. It's plain and simple. There is no in between.
I feel like you got to have the baseline like attraction, like in other ways. Like you had to already been doing okay before the bald like becomes a multiplier or a divider.
Yeah, yeah. I agree. I agree with that. Yeah, but I noticed it was it was never a big deal to me. It was something that I never ever, to be honest, I never thought about it until I came into the manosphere space. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, what? Oh, okay. So
I was thinking about this topic today or yesterday about barbershops and barbers. And that really, if you think about it, a barbershop is a cope. You don't need a barber to cut your hair.
I cut my own.
Yeah, I've cut my own hair for almost 5 years now. Well, I didn't cut my hair for 3.5, 4, for almost 3.5 years. Well, 4 years I've been cutting my own. I haven't been to a barber in 4 years. So I mean, barbers are really unnecessary.
Michael Foster, good to see you, man.
What's up, guys?
It's a cope night. You didn't change your name.
Yeah.
I dropped Rev. I just felt like,
But you should have the word cope in it somewhere.
Oh no, I messed up.
It's good to be a cope.
It's coping to be a foster, right?
Michael Coper.
Michael Coper. I'm sorry. Maybe I'll edit it here in a little bit.
Yeah.
Michael Copester.
How you guys doing, man?
Coper and Michael Foster.
There we go. So, what are we coping about? What's going on?
Hair
we're
length.
talking about the word cope on the meanings that it has. I mean, we started out the stream when somebody says they're coping. I think it used to be something that I'm just dealing with the issues that I have.
Do you guys like Diet Coke or Coke Zero more?
Oh, yeah, that's good.
I like
good.
Coke Zero is my favorite.
Yeah. Well, Coca-Cola is just great.
Coca-Cola.
Another great name. I used to call it Woca-Cola, but now it's Coca-Cola.
There you go.
There it is. Michael Copester.
All right.
I love it.
That's funny.
Copial Foster.
Copal Foster.
Wonderful.
So what's happened is the word coping has the definition have changed. I mean, I came up with my own definition, which is basically you're bullshitting yourself when somebody's coping. That's kind of my definition, what I see of it. But I think the word coping now is I don't know, Gonzo or Caduceus, you wanna give the new definition of coping?
I think the bullshitting yourself is a good definition if applied to reality itself. Like if you're coping against like the truth, like how the world is, how like the world functions, then yeah, you're bullshitting yourself. But if you're coping, there's like if you're dealing with grief, it's natural to cope and you're not really bullshitting yourself. You're just trying to move on in other ways. And like I think it only really applies to the reality shattering analogy.
What happened?
Scenario. He had to cope.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. He'll be back on.
His internet's coping.
Yeah.
Connection.
His internet's he's coping with his internet.
We need your oh, here's a shot right here. Was Michael coping that Jesus existed? Ooh. You gotta come back on for this one.
I mean, I don't know about coping. He's exploring.
Yeah.
He's exploring. He's knowing. That's what he's doing. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just find it interesting that it pulled a whole 360 because it's really bad. What you really don't want to be is somebody who can't cope. That's what you don't want to be. Like, that's a shame right there, to be somebody who can't cope. You actually want to, like, cope max. You want to be able to cope in every situation. That's the mission in life. Like, no matter what happens, you're able to deal with it effectively. That's the, you're able to Tony pill it. You know, you're able to adapt and, you know, you can do all that. And now coping instead of see, it's funny, right? Because now it's gone from actually like coping, actually overcoming, and now it's like, all right, what creative lie can I tell myself to handle the situation, right? That's what coping has become now, by definition.
We came up with this earlier. Thou shalt not cope. Brunelations 21:1. I actually came up with Copulations. That's a new book. Yeah,
there you go.
The Book of Cope. Job actually coped. He coped in the OG sense of the word. He coped. He actually handled the situation no matter what happened. He endured.
So, Michael Foster, what do you think of the new definition of coping? Like, if we're on a stream right now and let's say there's a heated argument, and I was to say, Michael Foster, you're coping. That's
yeah. So I feel like a lot of the things we do nowadays is just deciding what's going on inside someone's head, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a manipulative tactic, where we don't deal with the actual arguments presented or the words presented, and so we get frustrated and we have to say whatever you're saying actually is just a product of your mental state, right? And that is annoying that we're at a place where it's almost like post-truth, post-argument, post-interaction, where now it's us telling people what their heart is, what's going on, and we're not actually interacting with propositions and objective statements. So I think that's where we're at. And to be fair, right, obviously people will cling to ideas, like take sort of AWOL, right? All women are like that. All women are terrible. Women are all whores at Monkey Branch or whatever. I had some guy critique me and my wife and said, well, bet she's sleeping around with other guys and all his kids aren't actually his kids. And my kids look like little clones of me, right? You know, we've got 7 kids. Like, I don't know where Emily's finding time to cheat on me, but that was them coping. Like, actually, no. People can be happy. They can have happy marriages. And he's coming up with this idea that reinforces something he's committed to. So, like, I get the temptation. It's like the Shakespeare saying, me doth think the lady protests too much, right? So protesting too much demonstrates that there's a sort of implicit guilt or whatever. But the fact that is where arguments go so quick demonstrates our inability to deal with truth statements and have sort of rational discourse. Those are my thoughts. Gonzo, to you.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, I think, some people on, some pillars on the internet, they would, I think you are what they would call a family cell. And so
what do they call family? What?
A family cell.
A family cell.
A family cell?
Yeah. A family
Okay.
cell.
Well, I am.
You're family maxing.
A dad's
Family maxing, yeah.
Family maxing from a dad's cell.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's this one guy that I refer to.
Cell.
I refer to this one guy as what's his name? So you remember Scrappy Doo? You know, like Scooby's little. There's this one guy in the Red Pill community that I call Scrappy Doo, and I once was like talking about something in my marriage and my family that was like happy. It was like, weird flex, bro, right? Like. We're happy. Like, is everything a flex to you? Is everything like marketing to you? You know, I'm like, weird. It's weird that you think this is weird. You know,
he thinks you're running game on him though.
He's Mr. Dread Game, Scrappy Doo. He's always like, he's always leaving a gym bag at his door to teach his woman like. She might lose him at any moment. That's his whole shtick. You know?
But Michael, you got to game your wife, bro.
Are you talking about Ryan Stone?
Yeah.
Every
other night.
I can't remember the exact name of this Canadian I'm thinking about.
Of course it is.
But I just know that he is Scrappy Doo to Rolo's Shaggy. So
Does he does he have a prophet in his name?
Don't remember.
Okay.
Don't remember.
It's vegan gains, man. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, man.
I'm kidding.
Vegan gains.
Vegan gains.
Vegan gains. It is, but there is such thing as like cope or like people do grab onto ideas and say anything that disturbs this sort of simplistic, reductionistic worldview that they've created. They do like dispel it real quick, and that is like kind of like coping or whatever you want to call it. So I think there's some value there, but now it's just like anytime like I say something, it's like I'm coping. I'm like, all right, I'm like whatever.
Yeah. You know what I'd like to see you do though is I'd like to see you send that word back at a few people. Like I'd like to see that in your Twitter, like you're coping, and just see their response.
There you go.
I will come up with it. People that say I'm purple pill are coping because they have sucky marriages and they don't know how to marry a beautiful woman, have 7 kids, buy a farm, and live a happy life.
Well, that's because they're gaming their wife, bro.
Yeah, they are. They're with their gym bags and their dread game.
Yeah, I mean, there's a point to where it's just what happens is with this type of content, it attracts the guy that just got out of divorce, and there are guys that are, the whole thing blindsided is another kind of a joke to me. I don't think there are guys I'm sure that are blindsided, but I think that's kind of a buzzword. I was blindsided. Oh, wait. No. You didn't see it coming?
No.
I don't think so. You know,
I call this the wee Todd pill. It's just like, so I don't want you to get banned, Tony, so I have to say wee Todd. But there's just a sort of
you could say developmentally delayed. That's the medical term.
Mentally disabled.
Developmentally
common
delayed.
sense disadvantaged.
Yeah, pill.
Yeah.
There's a sort of reductive nonsense going on in some of the red pill community where there's like they took this nugget of truth that was helpful if applied generally with all sorts of exceptions and wisdom, like is actually helpful. And then they reduce it down to like this weird law. Like I always tell people, hypergamy is not the ordering principle of the universe. But you would, with some of these guys, they seem to think that, that's all they think about. They actually think about to be a man, you have to be able to hold a woman's interest forever. Right, so she won't monkey branch, which is fascinating. To be a man, you have to be able to get a woman. Like their whole definition of masculinity is defined by hypergamy. So much so, to actually be masculine means to get the 10, the 9, whatever. Which is funny to me that they define masculinity in the power of or the ability to captivate a woman. Which is part of it. I don't doubt that there's something there, but again, this is the wee Todd pill.
Isn't that really easy though? I mean, I tend to think it's easy.
It's easier than people think it is, Tony. Right? It's easier than they think. Like to get to the top. I was telling a friend today. I'm in a weird place where every area of my life is successful. Business, church, all these things are going really well, and it felt like it was impossible to have the success. Well, I'm finding what's like really hard is to hang on to it. It's like I thought it'd be impossible to get to this point, but the real difficulty is actually doing a good job once you get there. And to get a beautiful woman is not as hard as people think it is.
Not at all.
Anthony says very well, copagamy, right? Yeah, I think that is the perfect confluence of words.
I think once Hold the Truth on a stream said low pergamy once, just to
low pergamy. But I do think I think once you get there, like the real difficulty is learning how to develop the relationship into something productive and godly, and that leads to family and a long-term relationship that's good. And that's why I keep telling people, like, okay, you're a relationship expert. Show me your relationship. I used to work as a marketing consultant for a publisher, and this guy, one of my favorite guys ever, he wrote a book called How to Become a Millionaire in 5 Years. And I said, hey, let me ask you, man. So are you a millionaire? And he was like, no, not yet. And I said, this book idea of yours, like, when did you come up with it? Oh, all my life. And I was like, how old are you? He's like, I'm 50. And I said, so would it be fair to say you had this idea, say, 6, 7, 8 years ago? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, so, hey, man, the book is How to Become a Millionaire in 5 Years. Don't you think that the fact that you've had this idea for over 5 years, you're not a millionaire yet, it's going to impact your book sales? Like, it's going to make it hard for me to sell it. And he was like, oh, I hadn't thought about that. And I feel like that's like the red pill. It's like, you guys you're all these experts in relationships. Show me your marriage. Show me your kids. Show me, man.
Show me
Where's
the
result?
receipts, man.
That's exactly like you keep saying no, I'm happy. I got to protect my family. I got to use the pseudonym. I got to hide behind it because, I got to protect them. I got to protect my job. And you're like, all right. I'm sympathetic to that. And then what do you find out? Not a happy marriage, not a well-adjusted family. And then you're like, well, how true can this be? How true can this all be, man? If there's no receipts, you know what I mean? And when we find out the opposite, it'd be way easier to respect someone that had much more humble pronouncements that agreed with their life than someone that's like delivering us the 10 commandments of hypergamy from on high. And then you're like, no, the reality of your life ain't much, right? Oh, it used to be. I swear. Years ago, I was a baller. Okay, all right.
The whole thing with receipts is like, I agree with that. You know,
but the way they get around it, they say, "Oh, we're just talking about the theory, guys. We're not pickup artists. We just talk theory."
I mean, Michael Foster, I sent you some receipts last week. And my receipts weren't women that, like, I didn't send you pictures of women like that.
It was Tony and a very beautiful woman. It was Tony in a very normal setting, nothing weird. No, she was a very beautiful woman. She's got that Salma Hayek thing going on. You know what I mean? Like, don't age somehow. It's amazing.
Yeah, but so you know, I don't publicly, you know, put out my stuff, but you know, if I do send somebody a picture, but it's the reality of, like, the women that I date are better looking than any of these guys could ever even think of, and the women that they're with, you know. So
if they're not trying to rape people for the money, man, if they're not trying to, like, create new conferences and all these battles, all this drama, you know, and they're not trying to, like, do these crazy, you know, I did a coaching thing on my Twitter for a bit, and I tried to make it expensive enough that people wouldn't do it. I had this series of things they had to fill out before I would even talk to them. Have you talked to your pastor? Have you talked to a friend? What is your situation? Right? Like, and then I did that for a time, and then I just didn't want to do it because it wasn't worth my time. And now I just tell people, just come to my church, or I'll take their phone call if I have time and do it free. But these guys are, like, charging, like, hundreds and hundreds of dollars, right? To tell people, like, thousands, to tell them the same crap. And so my time's valuable, right? Like, I work at a high level, and whatever I charge these people would be less than what I get paid. And so I don't mind asking. I don't think it's wrong for people to ask for money, but these people, like, you know, like, they should just say, read my book, man. It's $15. It's all in there. You know what I mean? Like, but instead they're just milking these guys. And I think it's the grift that gets us all pissed off. Because it doesn't really help them. It leaves them in the same spot. If it helped them break free, you know what I mean? Like, and we were seeing all these great marriages and lives coming up, like, maybe one thing, but that's not, the red pill is going to go down as this massive failure, which is terrible. It's like, there was a lot of good things coming out of it. That's helped a lot of folks, but now it's just been taken over by fraudsters and fakes. It's really sad.
Coach cells.
Yeah, I mean, there are certain guys in the manosphere who I have a lot of respect of.
Same.
And number one is Pat Stedman.
Pat's the real deal, man. Yeah.
Pat is the real deal. Yeah, he talks about game. I'm going to say it 3 times just in case maybe Scribe will pop up. But I love Pat Stedman because he keeps it real. I mean, on the last stream I had with him, I don't know, about 3 weeks ago, you know, I threw it out there that looks attraction is the most important thing. And then your supposed game is your social skills. It's real simple. So I don't
a happy, beautiful woman, a smiling, beautiful woman who loves you is priceless. And Pat's wife is a pretty girl. I don't care how you rank her, but she loves her husband. She loves him. He's got a baby with her, and they love their life, and they're happy. How many of these guys can say that? Right? How many of these guys, like Pat? I met Pat. You know this, Tony. Pat, he strolls. Like when he walks through the hallway, he's like just like strolling, like Mr. Happy, and smiling and looking around, like smelling. Like Pat is really like that. And his wife stood by him through this crap going on with the Capitol, and she loves her husband. And they're still, I mean, like who can have that? A woman that will stand by you through like this crazy crap storm that he found himself in. So Pat's got the receipts. He's got a daughter. He's got a happy marriage. He's got the woman he wants to be married to, right? He chose her. He didn't settle. This is the woman he wanted to be with. And how do you not respect that? It's hard. If you don't respect that, you're an idiot, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's certain guys who I do respect. I don't always think that, I don't always think a receipt is needed all the time.
Sure.
I think
if you're not selling the lifestyle, you don't need a receipt. Or,
yeah, like Steve the Dean Williams. Steve is a friend of mine. I love Steve because Steve taught. One of the things Steve says, and he says, "Why are you making it about the woman?" He concentrates on the man. I don't agree with everything Steve says, but I think he's got just a lot of. I think there's a lot of reality to what he says. You know, and again, we get into the word game. You know, that word is used a lot, and Steve does use that, but I
really don't like that word.
Yeah, I don't either. I've come to actually can't stand the word. You know, when somebody says it, it's like, oh, geez, did you say that? God, you know, can we come up with something different than the word game? You know, I prefer social skills. I mean, to me, that's. Well,
I don't think they're equivalent though. Because like game gives the impression that like you're able to like work your way in, like you're gaming the system, and when really like social skills, like you can only really talk your way out of attraction. You can't talk your way into it.
Okay, we got it. We got a comment here from Jay Mesa. AMS can't cold approach though. He was going to be my next one. He's actually a friend of mine. You guys.
Who's AMS?
Alpha male life.
Oh yeah.
I you know what? I actually sent him a text yesterday, and we had a little chat going back and forth. I think he delivers I don't think his delivery is the same as a lot of these other guys. I really don't. I think he's comical. I think he's funny. He's a big guy. Yeah, we've all seen the video, you know, of
the snow bunnies.
Fail. But regardless, we know he can get women. I mean, he's a big guy, good-looking guy, you know, whatever.
Height pill.
We know that's a fact. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I think he does deliver some quality stuff and some pretty good truths when it comes to dating if you watch his content. I like him. I think he's cool. I don't agree with everybody. I don't agree 100% with Pat. I don't agree 100% with Steve the Dean. I don't agree 100% with AMS. But I think there's a few that are delivering some valuable stuff to guys. So that's my opinion. I don't, you know, a lot of guys don't agree with me on that, especially in the black pill community. I get that, but you know, some of these guys are, and it's not because they're personal friends, because I want to say I pick and choose what I think they're delivering is good, if that makes any sense. So. Yeah.
Okay. So you see more of like a net positive in the action.
I do. But that's few and far in between. Yeah. There's definitely a net positive, I think, with Steve, because I like the way he pushes the guy to make it about himself. What does he say, Primal Cope? Stand on your square, right? In other words, be your own man. And that's a lot of, you know, don't do everything for the woman, you know. But I don't know what you guys think about like choosing signals, you know, things like that. In other words, I think the woman is the ultimate chooser. I mean, let's get real. Would you agree or disagree?
I think we need
depends on what you're choosing. Like, are you choosing a sexual partner, or are you choosing a relationship?
Either or.
Either or. I mean, yeah, I guess like the sexual chemistry is like the first barrier, in a way. I don't know. It's tricky though, because
I mean, regardless, I think it's physical attraction is number one.
Yeah, I think so too.
You can't get past that.
Well, we need to open up a call-in line so we can see what's actually happening out there.
Yeah, I would say that it's just in terms of actual like dynamic of the relationship, or you're right. The physical attraction, you get it first. She gets you first, but you can you're not as tied to that situation. In a way, like if you rock her world one day, she'll stick around. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gonzo, you muted.
I think at the heart of it, women want competence. That's what they want. Now you've got sluts out there You've got sluts and you got, you got the ladies who want to get around. But I do think that even those women, at the heart of it, they want competent men.
Women are,
but you got to be competent first before you're confident as well.
Women are craving men that don't make them their god.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
They're craving it.
Yeah, exactly. Like the like I'm your, or like you're my
you're my
everything
queen.
and all that. Yeah, like all that sort of stuff. Like,
It's bad.
Don't do it. Don't do it, fellas.
All you got to have is confidence, bro. That's it.
No, just be confident, bro, man.
That's all you need.
Yeah, take a shower, get a haircut, and be confident, man.
Be competent. Cope offense. He beat me to it.
Cope offense. Sneaky Mike.
I mean,
Sleuthful Mike.
I mean, that's the reality when it comes. I think it is that we can say that, there will be a lot of guys that say that women are not the ultimate choosers, but they are, because if they're not attracted to you, you're never going to go any farther. It's just plain and simple, whether it's a relationship, but there's also things that, have I don't know. We'll say, I don't want to say have I used in my life, but there are times when MD brought this up, which made a great point, which is the drug pill, the alcohol.
Yeah.
Those are realities too.
Yeah, you also got to see what's the arrangement of your relationship in a way. Like if you just straight up laid it out, this is how it's going to be. Are you in? Are you out? I'm looking for a position here. Looking for wife, maybe this many kids, maybe you're gonna do these jobs around there. Oh yeah, it's you either take it or leave it. You're making a choice there, and if you have more than one option for that, even if there's no attraction there, you're still filling the position. Like if you don't do it, I'm out. If you break any of the contract, I'm out. If it's straight up contractual, it's not necessarily her choosing if you take the transactional route in a way.
There it is. Wait, this is a good one too. Where is it? The Ferrari pill. Yeah.
Ferrari pill. Oh
true.
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just hard to do that because you can get outbid by literally anyone in the world now.
Primal Man says virgins type V in the chat.
Based.
A born again virgin.
Born again, baby. Born again.
Well, that's a thing, isn't that?
Hey, I'll type a V for that one, man.
Yeah.
Born again.
Born again virgins.
Born again, baby.
Christian.
See the first 1,000 are only the warm up, guys.
Primal Chad.
Primal Chad.
Primal Chad.
No, what do they say? The coaches, they say the first 1,000 approaches are just a warm up, man. The first 1,000 rejections are just the warm up. The first 1,000 bangs are just the warm up. You're not you're still a virgin.
You get the virgin cope and the primal Chad.
Virgin.
There you go. Aries. Okay,
I mean, this is another issue I have is and I want Michael Foster to address this because this is going to be a good one.
Oh, the cope astrology?
No. Can you call a man a virgin? No. Right?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
Virgin means to not have had sex before, correct?
I don't know. I thought it was only women could be virgins.
So we're talking about like whether a hymen's been broken? If that's what we mean.
No, but I mean the word virgin itself. Isn't that sexually orientated to women only?
It tends to be applied that way. Yeah. I think, obviously I'm in favor of people waiting to have sex until they're married you know. But it does tend to be so. Part of the uncomfortable truth is that sexual morality, fornication, does not produce the identical results in men and women. In other words, as a Christian, I can say they're both equally repugnant in the face of God, and equally sins. In terms of temporal consequences, like here in this life, there is the effects of fornication on women and men are not identical. So, in other words, it seems to have a twisting effect on women at an intensity level that is not equal to what it has on men. I think I could make a pretty strong scriptural argument for that based on the emphasis of Scripture. And therefore, virginity in women is prized in particular, as opposed to men. I don't say that to justify fornication or sexual morality in men, but there's a difference in emphasis in Scripture.
So let me just pause you real quick. So,
Sure.
So I think in the manosphere, what I've heard is that men who have been with a lot of women are still able to pair bond, where a woman who has been with a lot of men is not able to pair bond. Is that kind of what you're saying?
There's the damage it does to someone's ability to interact into intimate relationships does not seem to be equal. Speaking on a broad generality, yeah, it absolutely doesn't seem to be the same. So Scripture seems to see like one of the worst forms of sexual morality among men to be homosexuality, where with the women it's whoredom, so multiple partners. Where with men it's a rejection of of winning a woman and surrendering to effeminacy, right? So it's hard to not see that the highest sexual sin amongst the sexes differ in Scripture. And when we look at the temporal consequences in their life, they don't seem to play out exactly the same way. So a guy that has entered into a sodomite relationship, it is very difficult to reorientate him in a healthy way back towards a heterosexual marriage. I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm just saying it's difficult. A woman who's had a slew of sexual partners, it is very difficult to orientate her back to a monogamous, healthy marriage relationship. So both sexes have their sexual morality in them, but the way it plays out and manifests itself definitely is distinct. You know what I mean? And that probably is why virginity is prized amongst women more than it is men. So I understand that. That's me trying to give a very nuanced, careful answer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's kind of like you almost agreeing with that. We'll just say that
there's something to that observation that they make in the manosphere. There's something to it. I want to be careful not to overplay it, and certainly don't want to be able, like these guys, like, look, I think guys that are having sex with a lot of women are doing damage to themselves. I do. I think there are consequences. I don't think the consequences play out the same way. But okay, here, I'll give you a great example. Here's an easy example. All right. In basketball or soccer, you have to make a hard pivot, right? So you put your foot down and you twist a different direction. Now, men can make hard pivots easier because their body is not full of estrogen. Women, although, have their bodies full of a lot of estrogen. Estrogen affects the body in such a way that when a woman makes a hard pivot due to the softening of different ligaments or whatever in her body, that parts of her body will continue to twist.
That's also the anatomical alignment different too.
Well, yeah, because the female body's meant to expand to have children, right? And so there's some real differences there. So women will have higher occurrences of ACL, knee tears, or whatever in sports as opposed to their masculine equivalent. It's not to say that men can't get damaged by making hard pivots, but men and women aren't the same in that way, and the occurrences of the damage are different. So it's me simply saying that that the way particular sins and behaviors affect sexes are not equal, though they're equally morally repugnant, or at least morally sinful before God, but the way they work out in this life are not the same. It's really hard to observe anything else. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah,
It does. It's a tough. I think just going from a Christian analogy to more of the manosphere analogy. You know, I mean, there's a lot of guys out there that just want to get laid. I mean, let's get real.
Yeah.
Just want to get laid. That's all.
Well, can I give you an example, Tony, of how having lots of sexual partners gets in the way of a man enjoying sex? So there's something called the forbidden fruit principle, right? So when you're not allowed to do something and you do it, it makes it hotter. So Scripture says in Proverbs that stolen bread tastes sweet. So the bread tastes sweet just because it's not yours. There's a thrill associated with it. So when guys have sex with lots of different women, there's a tendency when they're actually involved in coitus, intercourse, having sex, that their memories will access other memories, and they'll pull other sexual escapades into the moment they're having sex and naturally associate and compare them in the moment. And it actually prevents them from enjoying the moment that's in front of them a lot of times, because their mind is just a very natural thing, right? Like anytime I eat a piece of pizza, I'm going to think about other times I've had pizza. There's an expectation how pizza's going to taste, how it's going to feel, whatever. And so when there has been lots of sexual exploits with multiple partners, and we enter into to intercourse with somebody, we have a tendency to pull those things in the moment, and it gets in the way of our ability to be sexually present with our partner, right? And so it's hard to love the person in front of you. It's hard to actually just have sex with the person in front of you. You're actually living out memories. Okay, there we go. Yeah, it's a good one. But and so I think I just want to underscore that fornication does affect men adversely. It really does. And in marriage counseling, what comes up a whole lot is I'll have a lot of couples who actually gave their virginity to each other prior to getting married, right? So they had like hot sex. They had all this hot sex before they got married. Then they got married, and the sex changed right away. Well, part of it was because the whole stolen bread principle was removed. And now it's like allowed, and some of the excitement. And the only way that they can get hot again is to relive the memory of when they were fornicating together prior to marriage. I see that play out a lot in a lot of relationships, and adversely affect their ability to be intimate in their marriage bed. So I don't know. Some thoughts for y'all?
No, I think there's a lot of truth to all of that. I mean, there is.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we could, Primal Man came up with no fap. That's another manosphere thing.
Oh, man. Cold showers, no fap.
No cope.
Elliot Holst made a really good video on that, on no fap, semen retention, and he goes into detail about it.
He doesn't have to, though.
And he don't have to, but he still does. He practices semen retention, he says.
Yeah.
And he goes into detail about it, and it's very convincing. So check that out.
I'm a fan of cold showers. It reduces inflammation in your body. I don't know about anything else.
I think the whole thing is pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
What, no fap?
Yeah, to be blunt about it. I agree. Okay, you know what? Well,
I think from
like Cole Robinson did a video recently where he was he titled the video like semen retention. We'll save the planet with semen retention or something. He was like, we'll save the country. And actually what he was talking about was just like, he's like, we need to stop like validating these fatties. We got to stop validating all these people and stuff.
Yo, Gonzo, so you watched Cole Robinson. Did you watch that video where he stared at the camera for 1 minute without stopping? Or for whatever?
Yeah. That's his
That's
thing.
like one of my favorite videos of all time. Hey, fatty! He's hilarious, man. I love him.
Oh, yeah, he's great. Yeah, and he talked about the semen retention thing, and I think, here's the thing, I think it's gone from being like, okay, guys, let's have self-control, to being like the actual act of like not nutting is going to save your soul and is going to save the planet, which I think is kind of absurd. And that's not what Cole was saying in that video. It was kind of, he had a different angle with it, but I think a lot of these, I don't know, I think I think a lot of it is kind of like, it's starting to like bridge like this sort of weird scientific zone. It's like starting to become like, I hesitate to say pseudoscientific, but it's getting into that weird gray like scientific zone where it's like, if you don't nut, you're gonna all of a sudden your clarity is gonna come back, and like, you're gonna have charisma again and stuff. And I just think this all is just a bunch of nonsense.
You start walking on walls, bro.
This right here is a manosphere thing. No fap apparently gives you energy, and women, and that is from the movie Something About Mary. Remember? Don't ever leave the house with a loaded gun. You're going to be more relaxed. So I don't know if I agree with any of that. I don't think does it really make a difference?
I mean,
the argument is like almost always like kind of a Catholic thing, right? Where
I think they say go no fap for at least 14 days and then come back with the evidence.
There's like a neurological reset that happens 30 to 60 days. There is like a real it does. So, I mean, we're talking about some pretty powerful hormones, that sex releases. So, when I deal with guys that are trying to get off pornography and masturbation, I try to get to root causes. So a lot of times with guys, what they're after is stress release. They're stressed out about something, and they're turning to pornography as a way to manage their stress levels. It's not even. It's not even about the women per se. That's what's hard for women to understand. Is that, I mean, it can become for some guys, but honestly, what I think, as I've talked to a lot of guys and carefully listened to their thought process, what I think they're trying to do is like, they're like, I feel like a failure. I'm scared I'm going to do bad today, whatever. I need to be relaxed. And then they, go to Pornhub or whatever and masturbate to it. And so part of it's like helping these guys understand how they can have confidence, how they can find some other releases through, because a lot of it's just stress is stored up in your body, right? It's a physical, spiritual reality. Yeah. And so something like running, lifting weights, or even a cold shower causes your muscles to contract or whatever. There is a sort of like release that can happen.
Your blood goes to the outside to deal with the cold.
And so it's just, there is like a sort of, release of, like the other day I was really stressed and I went out to my garage and I benched a bunch of times. And after I benched,
I'm glad you said that.
What's that? Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't sure what was coming yet.
I hit the weights pretty hard. And I was amazed when I felt way more relaxed. I was like, man, that's weird. Because I didn't do it to do that. I just went out there to lift weights and I felt better right away. And it's just our bodies, we store up stuff in it. So I really do think a lot of the use of pornography and all that is about using a easy form of self-medication And so when you're not using that form of self-medication, you're aiming it towards something more productive, weightlifting, running, pouring it into a project, whatever. Of course you're gonna do better in life, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Of course
I
you are.
got a few thoughts on this. One, I agree. It's the same psychological effect as like fasting from something, where one, you're doing a lot of other things, and then two, you're not. It's an exercise of self constraint. Physically as well, you got you bust a lot of nutrients out, like a lot of minerals, stuff that you have to replenish often, like when you're done. So if you, let's say someone that's like a serial masturbator, they're going to lose a lot of zinc. They're going to lose a lot of salts. That's all the salts that you need for your sperm to survive the journey. You're shooting out of yourself right there, and it's not in your body anymore. And then another thing is that when you spam your body with reward signals, you're gonna, every time you have reward, you inhibit the inhibition center in your brain, the part of your brain that tells you to say no. So if you're just constantly giving yourself reward, every single action leads to some sort of hit of dopamine or any sort of reward. Your body thinks, no need to say no. Everything's turning out good no matter what action I do. So then eventually, the way neurons work, it's you use it or you lose it kind of thing. So you're gonna the part of your brain that allows you to say no is gonna slowly degrade over time. Whether you're addicted to a drug, whether you're addicted to some action, whether you're addicted to masturbation, whatever. They call it I think it's the orbitofrontal cortex. So you're gonna lose a part of your brain that tells you say no, and it's gonna get harder and harder, and you're gonna fall deeper into a pit, and that makes you easier to control.
I definitely think that pornography is a way to control men. Hands down, I think the government allows pornography to keep men pacified.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure.
Well,
without a doubt.
There's two countries in the Middle East that don't. I'm not sure the two countries, but they actually, the one country they allow the pornography and they push it into the other country because it makes men weak. And the other country is not. I'm not sure which two countries these are, but they do have pornography, or they don't. So one country does right next to each other. I'm not sure if it's like Pakistan and.
So I'm Jewish. Let me say this: I'm ethnically Jewish. A lot of people don't know that. Here's the proof right here. This big hook nose of mine. So that's my. I don't hate the Jews. Very glad my grandma survived the Holocaust and came over to America. It is absolutely true that when they took back Jerusalem, that they blared pornography into their enemies' homes, without a doubt. It's emasculating, it's corrupting, and yep, there's no doubt that, like, pornography is to keep men. So basically, to get sex, the easy way is to take it through rape, right? Or to actually win a woman. It's much easier to win a woman. Rape was, no one's cool with that. Guys will kill over that, right? So then there was like whores, right? But whores are in the bad part of town. And you got to go to the bad part of town. You're going to get like beat up, maybe, whatever. It's gross woman, diseases, whatnot.
Yeah.
Then there was eventually, like, you had to have a catalog mailed to your house, and there was risk involved there. Then there was like a bad theater that you had to go over to and get your career destroyed, like Pee Wee Herman for going to a theater, right? And then there was like internet porn that was super slow and took forever to download. And then there was high def pornography to your phone. And so now the ability for men to get access to erotic images is unique. It's never been like this before in the history of time. Usually to get sex, you had to just get money, connect with the father, win a woman, marry her. But now, like, there's a way to get something that approximates it. That is, it keeps men passive. So video games and porn are making men weak, pathetic, nothings. And I'm not against video games, just to be clear. I play with my kids from time to time, but it's taking a man's desire to have skills and relationships and a tribe and to dominate and focusing on a digital realm that doesn't really have much effect in day-to-day life, right?
Yeah.
And then porn is keeping them from actually connecting with a real woman, making some guys making a ton of money off them. You know, guys like some of the guys on Twitter will brag about how they're making money off blue pill guys. So I have no doubt in my mind that pornography is a way to keep guys from being a threat to our rulers. Because guys that want a wife, guys that want a vision, guys that want to build, guys that want to dominate, they're dangerous, right? So let's pacify them with video games and porn.
Well, let me take things deeper. Yes. Look at the procedure.
I got a question for Mike when you're done. I don't want to get off this topic.
Well, look at the procedure of the ice pick lobotomy. You put the pick through the eye, and then you cause a lesion in the brain, and then they become more agreeable. That's because you take out the OFC, the orbitofrontal cortex. It's orbido because it's near the orbit. So the same part of the brain that you're scrambling up and destroying, you're destroying by bombarding yourself with reward pathways. So whether you're addicted to drugs, video games, pornography, whatever it is that you're spamming yourself with reward, any sort of vice does this. You're effectively lobotomizing yourself.
I agree. We are watching the absolute destruction of a generation of men and women from two different perspectives, without a doubt. I think the manosphere is right that you've got 20% of men having sex with 80% of the women. I think that's probably right. That would explain how so many men have a real low notch count or virgins, and women have 7 to 14 sexual partners. But the men are being destroyed. They're being destroyed. We are in a epic war right now. It's a really tricky, nuanced, subversive war we're in for the soul of our entire country. You know what I mean? It's and that's why like guys like me enter into the manosphere, right? Guys like me, like I'm a pastor, like I don't need this, but you guys are on the front lines. You guys are seeing this stuff, and it's finding its way back to my church, and it's advantageous for me to spend time with guys that are just honest about their experiences. But it's helped me understand what we're up against, which is a very sophisticated enemy.
Yeah. Mike, we talk about guys and porn. What about women and porn? Have you ever dealt with this or seen this? Because porn is just as accessible to women as it is us.
The usage of porn among women is exploding at a higher rate, and so a lot of women, the first time they have sex, they'll be choked because they see that and they think they're okay with that. A lot of women and men don't like to be choked. Wrong with that? It's not normal. It's not a standard. It's within the rate. There's a lot of women like to be dominated. They want a strong man. Part of that is proof is 50 Shades of Grey, right?
Is a little bit of choking okay?
Well, what's right and wrong, I'm not going to discuss in the scope of this this live stream, but I will say that a desire for feeling the strength of a man is very normal, and sometimes that takes the form of a woman being choked. The point is that we've got like these teenage kids entering into sex, and they're choking this woman because they think that that's what she wants, because they've seen that, and women go along with it regardless if it's something that they desire or not. And so it's leading to a whole lot of weird views. So a lot of women are acting out in pornographic ways that are not normal, like these women. So they think these guys want this. What's really interesting is that in porn, women act like men.
Yeah, it makes the women masculine in real life.
So in sex, man, if you think about the way sex works, man is a reservoir that is full of water that wants to release pressure from its dam. Okay, the way women work in sex is that through the sex act and leading up to it, but but very incrementally, they build up sexual desire that then is released, right? So it takes a man 3 to 5 minutes to orgasm. Standard. It takes a woman of roughly somewhere between 5 and 10 times the amount of a man to orgasm. And so women build really quick. When you watch sex, basically the woman's like, "I want you," right? It just like they turn on like a guy turns on or whatever. That's not actually how it works. That's not how the biology works. These women are carrying these ideas into it, and so it's leading to really twisted marriage beds and expectations that are producing very some deep problems. And so we're like, so let's see, I'm born in 1980. I'm 41. So people that were born 2000 are 21 right now. Okay. So we've got the first iPhone 2007, right? So these kids, if you're born right around 2000, by the time you hit your teen years, you've had access to high def porn for free. So we're in the beginnings of a generation of men and women who have had access to it. And the consequences are, I keep telling fellow pastors this, they are hard to overstate what has happened. Like our entire populace is being decimated morally. And their ability to interact. I think that's why I get so pissed off about a lot of the red pill stuff. It's not that I disagree with a lot of it, but just the short-sightedness, and that's because they're grifters, and I'm a pastor. It's just different goals, I guess. They want money. I want to change things. But it's destroying our women and our men, and it makes women's ability to understand what makes a man tick difficult, how to act in sex difficult. It defiles sex. It attaches a guilt and shame to sex that ought not be present. People ought to be able to give themselves freely in the marriage bed. We're in a war right now. Like we're in an intense war for our soul as a nation and really as a Western culture. And it all relates back to this sort of stuff.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
I'm the kind of guy that just doesn't understand porn and porn addiction. I'll be honest. I just don't get it. I don't get anything about it.
Yeah.
I think it's because you're older, Tony, and you have to actually go out and get it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can have it any second now. You can just it takes probably 2 seconds and you can get porn.
Maybe too. Like, does anybody ever think about like me? You could go on my computer history on my phone or on my computer, and there's nothing that I would ever be ashamed of.
I don't doubt that at all. You know, like I believe you 100% when you say that. I just think the access here, you know, like guys used to like masturbate to the Sears catalog, right? Or think about these things, but now like they
catalog.
Yeah, I can remember hearing stories about this sort of stuff, and but now like anything you can imagine is available free online, and then what happens is to deprogram these guys to help them heal so they can have intimacy with their wife is not easy.
I think it goes beyond just being able to have intimacy with a partner. It goes back to being able to say no, because you're physically losing the ability to say no to stuff, and that makes you easily controllable.
Yeah, that's what I tell guys. I always tell guys, if you can't say, if you can be manipulated by porn, you can be manipulated by a woman that you're married to with sex.
Yeah. Well, I'm not talking about if you can be. I'm talking about you're physically losing the part that allows you to do that.
You don't think you can recover it?
I think you can recover it, but
I was going to say, because NoFap's argument is more or less that you're able to reset a lot of the neurological pathways.
Yeah, well,
anywhere between 30 to 90 days, and that seems to be true in what I've seen.
Yeah, well, the way it is, like your body's kind of a use it or lose it kind of. It's thrifty with its materials. If it sees that you're not firing a certain neuron, your inhibitions, you're not saying no to a lot of things, you're not having any self control. Your body's like, I don't need this part. I haven't faced any consequences from it because we're in a pretty safe society right now. Because before, let's say that you sat around all day and you just busted a nut all day and watch porn, you're not eating at that point. Then you face the consequence of it. So you're probably not going to do that. So you would activate that inhibition pathway. Now you don't do that.
Yeah, it's definitely messing things up. Hey, what did I tell the darkest night here? It's over. It isn't a war. It's too late. No, it's not too late. But saving America is too late. America's doomed. But winning your local area, it's not too late.
Why is America doomed as a whole? Why is there no hope for America?
That's a longer discussion, but I would say we had a problem after the Civil War where it became the United States as opposed to these United States. And then with FDR, with the creation of the welfare state and centralization of everything, and then we've seen more of that. I don't think we can recover from the series of compromises we've had on our principles as a nation. If we can, man, I'd be super happy. But I would tell everybody I'm of the county before country mindset. Really, just focus on your local area, and we'll see what this plays out. Nations come and go, man. The Medes, the Babylonians, the Romans, like great empires come and fall. You know, all it would take for destroy China is for the Three Gorge bridge to fail, right? That'd be the end of China. 100 million people would die, and they'd lose all that power. It'd be over. So I don't place my fate in the power of any particular nation, but I do think we should focus on our locales more than anything.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I wonder what your response is to this.
Oh yeah, no, that's not true. That's just not what the Bible says.
It's because I've been under the belief of that too. I mean, I kind of in the Bible thumping Christian household and churches that we went to, it was like the Antichrist was going to be this lovable guy, and you know, so that's not biblically correct.
So in the Bible, when you actually look at it, so Antichrist is anyone that's against Christ is what the word it means in Greek.
Yeah.
So there's not like a Antichrist. There's Antichrist. It's plural.
Yeah.
So then the question is, who's the beast? Who's the man of perdition? So you look at 2 Thessalonians. You look at Revelation. Who's it talking about? Now I'm what's called a post-millennial. I actually think all that stuff, with the exception of the last 2 chapters of Revelation, took place in the first century. I think a lot of it's referring to Nero in a series of
Like a political piece.
Yeah. And I think the last 2 years, the last 2 chapters of Revelation are future, but I don't think most of it's future. I think a lot of that is that's dispensationalism it's about 170 years old. A woman was like tripping out in some sort of weird church service, and she came up with it. It was popularized by a study Bible that was really popular about 100 years ago.
Yeah.
And but it's not actually, the church has never believed that there was like this end of ages sort of Antichrist and the church was going to be raptured. That's like a really new belief, like when we use historical terms, maybe 150 years old. It's a very American thing. People tend to believe that when things are going really poorly. But no, I fall into the category of people that think that the church is going to get stronger and stronger, and I think it has. There's more Christians than there's ever been. There's more Bibles than there's ever been. There's more seminaries, more churches. Graded on a whole, there's more Christians on the entire planet than there's ever been. It's just America in the West is in a rough spot. But I do think the church will come out on top eventually.
Yeah. Isn't 666, isn't that gematria for Nero? And then
It almost certainly responds, and it's so like when you look at the beginning.
I think if you do the numerology, like if you put in Nero, I think you get 666, and then it used to be 661, which was Caligula's.
Yeah.
Right.
So here's the easiest way to understand it. Whatever Revelation is, it was meant for the first generation or first century Christians to understand. And so whatever it can be, it can't be something they wouldn't understand. And it's almost certainly what's super crazy is there's a year of where you had Galba, Nero, you had all these popes, where it was like a year or two where they went through multiple popes. Well, Revelation talks about all these different leaders that they went through. It's very specific in how long. And so Revelation is clearly referring to everything that's going on in Rome at that time. And a lot of it has to do with basically the Christians were persecuted heavily by the Jewish synagogues at the time. And so the end of the ages is the end of the Jewish synagogues, which happens at the destruction of Israel in 70 AD, where Christians in Israel, because Jesus warns in Matthew chapter 24 and Luke 21 that this was going to happen, Christians, when they saw, so what it says in modern English translation, when you see the vultures, but the word for vultures is just eagles, and that's what was on the Roman shield. When you see them surrounding, get the hell out of Dodge. So Christians ran out of Jerusalem when Titus and Vespasian surrounded it, and then they put Jerusalem under a siege. People are like eating babies and stuff, right? It was crazy.
Yeah.
And so they destroyed Israel, and that's when it became what we understand as Palestine today. You know what I mean? And so I think Revelation is actually not referring to what a lot of people think it is.
So it's a political allegory in a way.
Yeah, and it's to comfort the Christians, and we all can relate to it, where there's tyrannical regimes that persecute Christians. We are on it right now, like we're beginning to enter into it in America, where we have a tyrannical regime that is against individual religious freedom. And it's going to keep coming up. Now they got this gay Delta variant thing going on. And every time I say things, I'm trying not to get Tony banned. That's all I think about. But we've got this thing going on where they're clearly going to try to force us to take vaccinations, right? Like it's like super obvious that they are, and overpower any sort of religious exemption or medical exemption or liberty exemption we might take. So even if it does refer to the first generation, right, that first century, it still gives us a model, which is to encourage us, in later ages.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense.
Since the topic is cope, are there coping Christians?
Oh yeah,
Of course.
And let's have a either Gonzo, Primal Man, or Michael Foster. How would you describe a coping Christian?
Hypergamy.
Religious hypergamy.
Religious, actually, yeah, that is what happens when you have like a crisis of faith. You have like you end up in like religious hypergamy.
Would that mean would religious hypergamy mean you're a Christian, then you're a Buddhist, then you're then you go to Islam, then you go to
everything's right.
And then you hit the
right,
wall.
yeah.
And then you hit the wall and wind back up at Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Coping Christians, man. It's a huge issue.
See, yeah, Gonzo, that expression about said it.
Well,
I'm sure Foster would agree with that.
I was just telling Gene today about this a little bit, but I had a conversation with my mom earlier, and you know, she's coping right now. She's coping big time. You know, we recently just had the conversation. You know, where are you know, what do you want to do with all the stuff? And
What stuff? What are you talking about?
after she dies.
Oh, okay.
And so, you know,
Tell her to sell it at a garage sale.
She's sick, right, Gonzo?
Yeah.
I'm with you, Mom. I love you.
Yeah, like she's about to she's in palliative care right now, which is kind of like I guess from what I understand, it's like basically the level right before you reach hospice. So, but I was what was it? I was talking to her today, and something came up, and she was saying how like. I mentioned like the book of James or something just offhand, and she was like, "Oh yeah, you know, James was like he was like full of shit," and I'm like, "Wait, what? What are you talking about? What do you mean?" And she's like, "Oh, you know, my pastor I listened to, she was telling me about how like James tried to like alter the gospel and make it works based." And I went on this like, you know, and I explained and I dove into the book and I explained why that's wrong, why that's incorrect. And this was also a woman pastor, just FYI. We'll just throw that out there. But I explained it logically. I explained it. I went through each line. I explained why that doesn't make any sense for that history to be true. The way that she described it, and she was like, "Well, your explanation is logical and rational, but I don't believe you." So
now Remy has a good one here. Now, when I thought of a coping Christian, what I thought of is somebody who will continue to sin and do things wrong, and say that I can do this because I'll be forgiven every time I ask for forgiveness. To me, that would be, I would say, your standard coping Christian. You guys follow me on that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I follow you on that one. I'd say another one that I hear that some people that may think they're more righteous in a way, if they're Christian versus someone that doesn't follow a particular faith or a different faith. That could be a form of coping, kind of like how the racism is as a cope, where you get some sense of superiority when your life sucks.
Or another coping Christian would be the new Christian.
I'm born again, baby.
Kind of like I consider it like the alcoholic who quit drinking or the guy who quit smoking. Got to tell everybody. Sees a guy with a cigarette, hey, put that thing out. You know, why are you drinking? It's the same kind of thing. I call those the glazed over Christians. They're glazed over. They're like they have this kind of, and I know a few like that. They're better than you. All of a sudden, it doesn't matter who you are. They're better than you, and I call it kind of they're in like a trance.
it's a normie Christianity.
Yeah.
Normianity, yeah.
I guess, yeah. Yeah. So I think that's another big cope, you know. What's the biggest cope in Christianity?
Emotionalism, probably.
Emotionalism. Oh, that you're gonna like live a crappy life.
Mm-hmm.
Like believing the lies. Pretty much. Like just I can just live, just my crappy life like everybody else. That's not a Christian and stuff.
If I'm just a good person.
Alexio nailed it here, the Christian Karen. That's classic right there. The Christian Karen. There's a meme for you.
Do you ever get some of those, Michael? Like, do they ever?
Remy, we don't want to
Christian
hear
Karens calling up.
Remy,
Because you're like the manager.
Back in the church.
I got people always trying to get me fired. People complaining. People send message. There's been this long joke between me and my wife where we'll get this. A woman will always email me. I don't know if you know how you come across, but I just want to tell you that your words hurt some people. You know, I get that. I've been getting that for
years.
Like,
honey, you know what number you are?
Yeah, you're like, I get these emails all the time. How do I come across?
I wasn't even thinking of that. I was thinking of like someone who didn't like maybe what someone else in the church said, and they come to you like you're the manager.
Well, so I actually had this happen at the former church I was at while we were getting ready to church plant. So I just planted a church in December of last year, and now we're doing well. But prior to that, we had attended a church, and the senior pastor, a good friend of mine, and some women were mad about something I tweeted, and some of the elders wanted to meet with me, and I'm like, all right, I'll meet. So we talked, and I was like, look, don't you see the problem here that these women are mad and they're using you as leverage against me? And Matthew 18 says that you should address the person directly. Do you understand that? Like, they're being anonymous and they're using you as a tool to come at me. Because, like, what are they going to do to me? What do I care? Like, I'm going to continue to tweet whatever I want to tweet. But I was trying to open these pastors' eyes, like, you're in this very vulnerable position now, where these women are learning they can use you as a hammer, right? You as a tool to attack anyone they disagree with. Like, do you want to be that? Do you want to be a tool in their hand? Do you want them to own you? Is that what you want? And trying to help them open their eyes up to it. And I do think the leadership of that church has slowly come to that position. But there are these people that will come in and complain about anything and try to weaponize different portions of the church. So you're Christian Karens. They're real, without a doubt. And I would say that a lot of churches have a shadow government, which really are the prominent women and the elders' wives are running the church. And I can remember at a former church I was a pastor at, and we were in a elders meeting, and he said, well, my wife says, and I would say, hey, what do you think? Yeah. What's your view? I don't really care what your wife says. She's not an elder. Like, let your wife inform your counsel. I don't mind that. It's good that women have a voice in a church, but they have a voice I listen to my wife. She tells me things. I'm like, okay, that's a good point. And then I form my own opinions and bring them to a leadership meeting. But it was like his wife was there with us, and he was her representative. And I'll be straight with you. I don't give a crap what she thinks. Like, not in that context. On principle, yeah. Don't. She's not a leader, right? Like, in a different context, I might care, but in that context, like, I'm offended. Like, hey, brother, you're an elder, not your wife. We elected you, not your wife. And so I think a lot of churches are absolutely ruled by a shadow government of women, and these men are scared to make decisions that will upset their women. Sometimes I'm the sort of guy that will do things that upset people just on purpose, just to remind myself I can, and I'm not owned by them. Right. We have to have leaders that can be bold like that without becoming manipulative, which is a very difficult balance to strike, to be quite honest. But yeah, what is a Christian cope? I think here's the biggest Christian cope is that sin is not enjoyable.
Yeah. That is a good one.
Sin is enjoyable, but it is destructive in the long term. Particular to your soul. Anyone that's not a Christian that's listening here, you're going to burn in hell forever. If you don't repent of your sins and believe in Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior, there is zero hope for you. None. Muhammad, Buddha, none of them will save you. All right. That being said, Christians not taking the power of sin seriously is hurting them. And also, Christians give a lot of cheesy advice, cheesy nonsense. Like, it's just gay bullshit, right? Just the dumbest thing you've ever heard. Soccer mom wisdom that rots the mind with this weird cotton candy fake Christianity. Terrible, right? And what we have to do is say no, and that's what we got guys like Jordan Peterson, Raul Tomasi, Anthony Johnson, not Christians, saying things that are clearly true, 100% true, objectively true, that Christians won't say. And so these guys that are in the church get pulled into these non-Christian worlds because what they're hungry for is truth. Give me the truth. Even if it hurts, give me the truth. And so Christian cope is cotton candy. Cotton candy, Karen, soccer mom, nonsense. And that's the biggest one.
So grifting in a way.
It is. It's like trying to make everyone feel good.
Well, that's why they say a lot of men are leaving the Christian church right now is because of that. Or have left the Christian church in the past. Maybe not so much now.
I agree. People leave the church because the church doesn't stand for anything. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not about to compromise my principles for anything. Screw it. Bring it, man. I'm ready to die for this. To live as Christ, to die as gain. Mm-hmm. And what men want is men that stand for something. And frankly, when you look at the church, you see men that are willing to bend over, right? Mm-hmm. For anything. And they look at these men that aren't Christians that are standing hard for principles and fighting tooth and nail against a horde of enemies that are trying to destroy their life. And those men are like, whoa, well, those guys are brave. Those guys really believe that. You know what I mean? And they're attracted to it because it is masculine. It is masculine to stand for that. And that's why you take like James Lindsay. He's the guy that does, he's kind of like an anti-critical race theory guy on Twitter. Dude, people are always trying to destroy him. And he always like texts back. He always tweets back to Yo Mama jokes, which I just love. But he's bold. How do you not respect that? And the problem is we have with a lot of our pastors are they're suck-ups to women. They're white knights. Mm-hmm. And it's killing our church, man. Well, like men just want as they can fall into battle.
Mm-hmm. I like this comment. Live stream church, is that a sin? I don't think that's a sin. In fact, I think that's it's funny because my mom and dad used to go to church quite a bit. And my mom, her church on Sunday is Jesse Lee Peterson. His church, his fellowship. That's what she loves. That's my church right now. I enjoy the fellowship. I enjoy being part of the chat when I can. I just enjoy the commentary. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, people talking about their issues.
Mm-hmm. It's a fellowship versus a church service. You know, I want to put this question to rest though too, which is, where is it here? Let me see if I can find it. About sitting in the church. Does it matter where you sit? Front, back, center?
I want you to be in my glory, right where I can see you.
It totally matters where you sit. I sit in the back because that way when the baby cries, I can get out of the sanctuary as fast as possible.
So it's closer to the bathroom if you got to pee.
So does it really matter where you sit? I don't think so, right?
No, it doesn't. No.
It totally matters.
I mean, well, if you have a baby, yeah, but if you're somebody who's in a church, you know,
slumming in the back row. That's where
the
I am.
last church that I attended was Calvary Chapel, and it's huge. I mean, it is massive. There's an upper deck. I mean, it's a big, big place. So it really doesn't matter, you know?
No.
When we were boys, we would all, like, during like the altar call and whatnot, we were too cool for everything. So we'd all go line up against the wall with our hands in our pockets. And it would be about 8 to 10 of us just standing against the wall. My grandma got so tired of seeing that over the course of years. I remember a couple of times she walked up to us. We were boys, right? It was all boys, like teenagers, preteens, whatnot. She said, what's going on with y'all? Y'all holding up the wall? Y'all doing a good job? And we all kind of looked at each other like, it was just great. Roasted by grandma in church.
Church and buses. Yeah, you know, Tony, were you public school, man?
I was actually, I was public school. I actually went to a Christian high school for the last 2 years of high school.
Did you guys ride buses to school?
Yeah, I did, but I got suspended, so I couldn't ride a bus.
I did that 1 year myself.
Yeah. I punched somebody in the face because they flicked my ear, so I lost my bus privileges. Yeah, so.
I can identify in a place, but I would always ride in the back of the bus, man. And I'd always sit in the back of the church too, not because I don't know why. I think it's just a habit. I don't really care where people sit. All I care about is, like, when I'm preaching a sermon, can I find someone that doesn't discourage me? Because there's these people, when you're preaching a sermon, they actually are not discouraged, but they do this. They do this. Hang on. And you're like up there preaching.
They smoking on it.
You're like, am I saying something heretical? Am I saying something wrong? Because you know, and they're like, you know, and they do this thing, and then you have to find the people that are like, oh yeah,
so he's vibing.
Amen.
The
Amen.
best thing to do is to go like,
Yeah. No. You know, and I have friends. I'll have people come preach at my church, and when they're preaching, I'll mess with them the whole time. Like, they're like, they know what they're going to do with me. Like, no, you're gonna have to bring your A game, and I'm gonna screw with you the whole time. But no, I think the Christian cope is not taking the temptation. I think the Christian cope is thinking you can be full of crap and people are going to settle for it. I really do think, like, you can, like, wrap up BS in Christianese, in Christian language, and guys are going to settle for it. And guys like, man, what I find men want is they want the hard, straight truth delivered bluntly from someone that cares about them. That's what I find men want. And I try to just tell them straight up, like, without any sort of weird, like, games. Like, here's what the Bible teaches. And I find even if they disagree with you, they walk away respecting you. And that's a good step.
Well, we get a lot of comments here when Hold the Truth Hostage jumps on. Good to see you, man. How are you?
Hey, man, I'm just happy that Tony stopped being violent, man. Beat up a kid in the bus, man. What's going on?
He put my shirt behind, so that was the end of that. So
I'm starting to
I
think,
bet no one was flicking after that, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Man.
That's true.
Tony's got a violent past, man. You know?
He's a hardened criminal.
Oh, yeah.
I've been suspended.
He's a hardened pill.
I have. And my dad always taught me to defend myself or do whatever I had to do. Even the last time, probably, I want to say the last suspension when I just punched a guy in the face because he called my girlfriend a slut. And she was a slut, but I just didn't like it. And so, there was nothing that my parents could do to me. In fact, I remember my mom took me apple picking. That was my punishment. Like, you're going apple picking with me.
That's
like, okay,
fun.
cool. Yeah, it was fun, actually.
Hey, hold the truth. You strike me. I can't tell, but you look like a bigger dude. Are you a tall man?
6'7", man.
I thought so. So, like, anyone flick your ear on the bus?
Oh, that man, we used to get like when you were shaved bald. I was the foreign kid, didn't speak English, man. They used to slap your hands, the back of your skull, man. And when they didn't have lotion in their hands, by God, man, you know, you would become religious if someone slapped a fresh baldy man with dry hands. Oh God,
Little calloused hands, no lotion.
no lotion.
You're not an American national?
No, I was born in Haiti, but I was raised here. You know.
I was gonna say you sound pretty American, but yeah, I get you.
Well, they tell me I got a Southern accent, man, and I'm like, dude, I was raised in Jersey. I just speak slow, you know.
Could you give Michael Foster your let's just say your phrase that you use at the beginnings of your videos?
Oh, I just tell people, man, you know, it's just hold the truth hostage, where if the truth was so important, we would hold the truth hostage, you know, because they always try to take the truth away from us, man. They always try to, like, you know, they bargain with you with emotion. But, you know, for example, they'll come to Michael, but Michael, don't you feel that you could hurt someone's feelings being this honest? They always try to take the truth away from you, man. So I've learned you got to hold it hostage, man. That's the number one hostage you will not negotiate with, man. You don't negotiate with lies, man. Just hold the truth hostage as best as you can, because in this world, that's all they're trying to do, man. They're trying to get to your feelings. I mean, I think Tony still has to apologize to that crossing guard that he punched when he got off the bus for not changing the sign.
I actually went and listened to some of your videos a couple weeks ago when I first met you on the stream. Wanted to see what you're about, and I thought that was good. There's another saying, tell no lies, right? It's the flip side of it, right? It's the other side. You're saying hold the truth hostage, hang on to the truth. The flip side is tell no lies, and that's exactly where we're at right now. Where what matters to you most, right?
Well, man, we just gotta remember, we need a moment of silence for that innocent crossing guard's face when a young, rampaging, violent, you know, black jacket wearing, you know, greasy, slick hair Tony just
the Italian stallion coming in with the
you know the name of that
right
guard, right? His name was Joseph Biden, and all the damage that Tony caused.
Oh, that's why he had the aneurysm.
That's the aneurysm right there. Tony scarred him as a kid, and now America's suffering.
You know what's funny is that's the way we grew up. Like I would be
beating up Joe Biden. Like
nowadays, I think you would be in the stuff that we did when we were younger. We would just be. You would go to jail for that stuff now.
Oh, that's 100%, man.
You know?
And we beat this one guy with a baseball bat once. I remember as a kid. And I was talking about with a friend the other day, like it was no thing. I mean, it was a big deal at the time. We were scared, but by today's standards, like I was telling someone, and they just couldn't comprehend it. They don't know what it's like to grow up rough, right? Like they have no clue. Yeah. Like, dude, we were doing crazy stuff. Like we were like, it was nutty, man.
Corn pop.
Corn pop was
I was gonna say dude. Tony was corn pop the whole time.
Oh, he was bad dude, and he rolled with some bad boys.
Oh my God.
He was coke pop.
Man, Michael and Tony, man, I feel like I'm listening to some gangland. You know, Michael beats men with bats. Tony's attacking people on the bus.
Dude, it was an aluminum Easton bat, man. And
you hit it with the stealth.
Oh, dude, and my friend beat him up, and I was there, and I remember we walked back home. I looked at the Easton, had blood all over it, and I was like, "Holy crap, we're going to jail!" You know, and it didn't happen, but yeah, it was, you know, it was kind of rough, you know.
And, you know, that's one of the outlets for like growing up. Again, that was one of our things, but that's one of the I think that's one of the reasons why I excelled at martial arts over the years, because it's not like you like beating up people, but there's a way to take any kind of anger or that fighting spirit to a controlled environment. And when you learn martial arts is great because, as you know, Michael Foster, you have a respect for person that you're battling with, and it teaches you to refrain rather than react. And that's one of the best things about martial arts.
What I've been thinking about a lot, Tony, is how quickly all our young men would die in a fight, in a war. I mean, it's just like they're so weak. And, you know, like, I got a fake tooth up here. It's got knocked out. And I've broken bones. I've been in so many fights growing up. You know what I mean? And I look at our young men. They're so soft. And I don't want them to get in the dumb fights I got in, because it was dumb, man. It was dumb. It was just dumb stuff. I remember I kicked this kid in his head. He started having convulsions. Like, I still see his face in my dreams sometimes.
But doesn't some of that stuff create your character? I mean,
it definitely shaped who I am, no doubt. Like, I'm not the sort of guy that's gonna roll over for anything. I've been in some really rough fights in my time, and it definitely translated to my ability to interact. But it also twisted me in ways. You know, I know it wasn't all productive. It wasn't all good. You know, and so where I struggle with is, how do I make my sons tough without them being exposed to the crap I saw, right? Like, you know, kicking a dude in the back of his head and watching him go into convulsions is not good, man. Like, I regret it. I'm sorry about it. You know, I really am. And but I don't want my boys to be weak and soft. And where I grew up, like, you just weren't afforded the luxury of it. You know what I mean? You either got your ass beat or you defended yourself. You know what I mean? Like, there was no way around it. And but what I see in our young men is, like, the things they struggle over. It's really hard to like connect with, right? Given when you grow up and you're getting in fights and stuff, like, and the things these guys whine about, it's very hard to understand. It's like they're very weak. And I don't mean that. A lot of guys say that. I don't mean that in a sort of dismissive way. Like, they have my heart. Like, I'm with them. I want them to do well. They're our future. You know what I mean? But at the same time, you're like, what the hell, man? What's happened to this country? So I don't want I would like is there a way I can make them tough without them having the regrets I have?
Well,
I don't know.
I think, man, your best bet is like Tony was saying, and I know Tony's holding back that, Cobra Kai is inspired by Tony, but
Johnny Lawrence.
That's right, man. Tony is Cobra Kai, but but I would say we're in the age of words, and we're in the age of in the 90s growing up, they used to tell us sticks and stones. That was passed on from the 80s. We're in the age of words will hurt me. You know what I'm saying? There's no stones. It's just words will hurt me. So if you do physically touch me, you're really hurting me. But I would say your best bet, karate for the kids. And I'd say probably, some fishing. And, I'd say it's more about off-grid activity, because the sooner they can grow up not in this system where it's sugar-coating them. You know what I mean? We're in a sugar-coated society where you can't even tell. Like, I talk to people with a delay where, in real life, I talk to people with a long delay. If they tell me, well, man, I got in a fight and, I don't know what to do. I got to really think, because we're in the age of phones, cell phones and all that. So you just gotta approach everyone with like some autopilot. Well, man, you'll get over it. You'll be okay. You gotta talk like you're a machine.
Yeah.
It's not like these type of conversations Tony's hosting where, I think we might be heading to the Tony version of Gangland. Tony and Michael beat up a whole gang with a bat, in Tony's fist.
Yeah, that's crazy. I got maybe a suggestion for the issue, or maybe it's just at least some input. Like I grew up, and I think a part of it is that like people are scared of the permanency of the internet. Like everyone's had a cell phone. I would say every single person in all my classes has had cell phones since late elementary school, early middle school in my life. So like they could just, whenever a fight happens, they're recording it. Whenever someone starts something crazy happen, is recorded. It's forever on the internet. So I would say maybe if you teach toughness through, I don't know, maybe like you mentioned you had a farm, and like the off-grid activities that Hold the Truth's bringing up. So maybe a lot of the maintenance on the farm, a lot of the hard work. I think that will add a lot of grit. Maybe let them earn some stuff for themselves by working for you guys. I'm just spitballing a bit.
There was a kid. So I graduated from Lawrenceburg, Indiana high school, and I was there from my 8th grade year through my senior year. And I did 2 freshman years. I got expelled, Tony, for hitting my principal with a chair. So I had similar
WWE, baby.
What else you did?
I mooned him first, then I hit him with the chair. Okay.
A finisher.
Michael, how long did you know Tony? I feel all this aggression.
Tony,
I feel all this aggression
Michael
coming
Foster.
from Tony. You know.
we're birds of a feather, okay? My wife says. But
There's the broken nose with the blood coming out of my nose.
Dang,
I'm
Tony.
starting to forget my point I'm about to make. Okay, like you're messing
You're
with.
talking about Lawrenceburg, Indiana.
Son of a gun. Where was I about to go with this?
I mentioned something about hard labor on the farm might add a little grit in some way.
Oh, geez Louise, guys. I don't know.
Who did we lose? Oh, we lost Hold the Truth hostage.
Yeah, maybe you're right, yeah.
He's got to hold the internet signal hostage. But there he is.
Michael, man, I don't mean to interrupt you. Just don't tell your kids about you and Tony's adventures. You know what I mean? Just don't tell them that. I in my mind, I picture that Tony spared a guy because Tony, before he punches a kid, I used to watch Grease. Tony would just wipe a little of that grease on his hair. That's when he got violent. Once he pulled the hair backwards, he's aggressive. And once he ran out of jail once, and that kid got away, and that's what changed Tony. That kid that got away from Tony's fist.
So when there's no more pomade, they're getting his palms.
That's right.
This
man.
is like
Tony's...
the DC origin story.
Nowadays he greases the beard. And then
That's right. Tony, the Punisher, is based on a comic book writer that Tony was about to punch.
Dude, he can still grease his scalp, and then he can like shine light into people's eyes. He can reflect light and blind them.
Michael, man, just remember from this stream, you met Tony last year. You didn't know him any earlier, man.
I watched Tony beat so many people up, though. You know what I mean? Like, it was just piles of bodies.
He threw somebody out the hotel window at 21, right?
Oh man, it was scary. He threw him out, and then he jumped on top of him, riding like a surfboard, all the way down to the bottom. Man, it was
nice.
I honestly don't remember what I was about to say. My computer's dying. I do think, though. I do think we have to toughen our men up. I don't think that things change. We have to be able to. I mean, what Hold the Truth hostage says, we're in an age where words are violence, right? But words aren't violence, right? They're not. It's not true, but they've been conditioned, and so we have to teach our kids. We have a lot of real challenges right now that our boys and girls both, but our boys specifically are dealing with. I've been thinking about this a whole lot. Like, how do I make my boys tough? What I like about my boys is they have a sensitivity that I lacked because, man, I was a sensitive boy thrown to the wolves. You know what I mean? Like, I had to fight, and it was very awkward. It was hard because I came into my own in high school, and it was hard for me to get tough and maintain parts of me. But we have to we got to keep our boys have soft hearts and thick skin, right? And that's the challenge we're up to right now, because we live in an age of effeminacy and feminism, where they're trying to make our boys all weak. And we got to make our boys weak without overcompensating into sort of macho tropes, and ridiculous stuff. You know what I mean? Like, if a guy can't, like, I have guys like they never shed a tear and they think that makes them masculine. I'm like, what do you mean, man?
Oh.
There's things to shed tears over. Like, that's normal human behavior. Men should be able to shed tears. You know what I mean? Like, but you shouldn't cry over everything, and you shouldn't be a pushover. So we got this balance we're trying to work out right now, where we're trying to rescue Western civilization, or our little nook and cranny of it, by getting strong men back that actually have a sensitivity that's useful for their wife and kids, and helps them keep a connection to their basic humanity. That's
But
what
you're a father, Michael Foster. So doesn't it like my dad, ex-Marine fighter. I mean, we've had times at the house to where my dad has come home and he got in a battle like across the street, come home with a bloody T-shirt. My mom ran in, cleaned him up, got a new T-shirt before the cops came. That's kind of how I grew up. So we knew what to do. In other words, it was like mom was taking care of dad. We were watching dad covered in blood and be cleaned up by the time, law enforcement got there.
He beat up the neighbor across the street.
No, there was.
Kids don't get that though, Tony. Kids don't understand honor culture. Like in my world, like snitches get stitches. Like we straight up, like there was like rules. There was rules. Like there was like, I don't think my kids would get that. Where when to cover, when not to cover. Like there was like very strict rules, and no one ever told on people. There was a time where like, no, the neighborhood will take care of that, right? It'll work itself out. And you would just back off, and you wouldn't like involve the cops. And that's something like I don't know how to teach that, right? We all learned that by it was like a cultural influence, and I think there's something good to that. Hold the truth hostage.
Well, I think, man, what Caduceus said is, man, you gotta take them in karate, and I think the farming or they gotta go meeting. You gotta. Because I went to camping when I was 6, but it taught us how to fish. They even taught us how to shoot a bow and arrow. Because what you got to teach your kids, and I say earlier on, because I was talking to Caduceus. Caduceus is raised in the age where the 3G age, where everyone had internet on their phone. But a guy like me, I was raised where, you had to save minutes, but my thing with the kids is you got to take them out to the wilderness so they can see that, the whole world isn't a glass society, because we live in a glass society now where you're walking on glass and you're praying to God. You don't crack nothing. You're not a phobic this. You're allowed to be an arachnophobe. You're allowed to be phobic about snakes, but God forbid you're a phobic about another human being or anything. So you got to, for them to breathe, especially during this pandemic, you have to. I would say any man with a kid now, you got to take them to the wilderness. You got to get them to one of those locations where they get to hunt. Something that tells them there's a world outside of this glass world where, if Michael says one thing, my God, Michael doesn't like peanut butter. What the hell's wrong with it? What about the people that like peanut butter? Don't you care about the people that like peanut butter? It's a crazy world, man. And to me,
I like that. Yeah,
you gotta take them out of the society, because we lost a guy here in the Black Pill community. The man, his name was Renegade One. He compared the world to the state he lived in. They're not even outside of America. You go to Texas. In certain parts of Texas, it's manhood 100%. You shed a tear and somebody might spit on you. You know what I mean? So,
This is one of my sons.
you know what I'm saying? Just remember, man, that DVD you and Tony had called Bruno and the Preacher, you know.
You gotta sleep them though, Mike.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
you got like a Boondock Saints thing going on where
Oh,
like,
the origin, Tony, man, you got a real. I feel like I think I could write a comic book on your lives, man. It's
I grew up in the age to where like Boy Scouts is not like Boy Scouts now. I
it's
used to
just
go
scouts now.
You weren't getting sodomized by your camp leader?
I used not at all. I used to go out and hunt with my dad.
Things.
We used to go deer hunting.
Not that.
I used to hunt myself. Like Boy Scouts was, it was different. They used to actually just like in the middle of winter in upstate New York, go out. This is it. You go in the woods, like, 2 PM, and that's it. We'll see you on Monday. I mean, it's that simple.
whoa.
Make your fire, do what you got to do. Freezing, it didn't matter. Now, did I sneak some sterno in there and some matches? Yeah. And so did everybody else. But there was also things like we would stay at a place like it's a cabin, and there'd be like 20 guys in there, and you would just pick 2 guys, and they would get in the center of the floor and just battle. I mean, that was our Boy Scouts. I never made it past like a, whatever. What's the first badge you get? Whatever.
Weeblo, man. Weeblo.
No. There's Cub Scouts, Weeblos, then Boy Scouts, but it was like the first badge, like a private. I didn't care about merit badges and all that crap. I used to just go for the fun. So it was really different. It was completely different. The thing you get in Boy Scouts, you'd go to jail for, I think now.
Yeah.
Well, first rule of Fight Club.
Yeah.
You guys, I gotta jump, man. It's midnight. So
Michael, just remember, man. Go to your computer, hide that, download it on a hard drive, save it. They don't see the Tony of old, man. They don't see that.
Yeah. Me and your Uncle Tony
Well,
used to beat the hell out of people. They talk back and can't follow up on it. They would find out that they're not nearly as tough as they think they are. Right?
Well, I found that out about 10 years ago, and I was battling a guy that was a lot bigger than me. He was about 6'4" and had about probably 70 pounds on me, and I have a shattered collarbone with a steel plate that goes all through here, But I paid for my confidence, we'll call it.
I'm starting to believe it's true that Tony once beat up 7 men with a half-empty can of Cool Whip.
Man.
Oh man.
Yeah. What's that drink? What's that meme that was real popular for a second? That tea that you did.
Oh yeah.
I wish.
I mean, we have a younger brother that we don't hear about often. We do have a younger brother, and my younger brother, boy, I thought I had quite a childhood, but he's a tough dude still. He went through some stuff in high school, and it was just the way we grew up. I mean, that's just the way it was.
I mean, one of the biggest problems, and I'm at real low energy on my computer here, is people aren't bullied anymore, man. And I agree there's a type of bullying that's like counterproductive. But I heard a great Chris Rock take on it, and I think he was dead on. I was like, bullying made me tough in a good way. My ability to run with like all the hate I get online, I don't even care about. Like honestly, there was a guy, I think I told you this. There was a guy that was talking about my appearance at 21, and he said, "Hey," he said, "Did 2 different people dress you?" And I just thought, it was the greatest insult. I loved it. I thought it was awesome. I was like, yeah, man, that's good. I like that. I dig that.
It's getting even worse. Like the kids now don't like I didn't really have much of the physical bullying, and that was like way different compared to you guys. Now they don't even have the word bullying, like the bullying with the words, because like I was growing up when the internet was kind of like Wild West-ish, and people online were just getting roasted, like especially in like the video game chat. You and your like squeaker 12-year-old friends would go in, and these grown men would just roast the shit out of you online, and you kind of learn how to talk shit over time. But now the kids aren't even getting that.
It toughens you up, and it makes you, like, I always tell everyone, I love a great insult. I love it. I mean, like, I thrive on it. I'm like, oh man, that's good. I respect that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And then your ability to go out there in the world and take hits from other people. Like, I work in, like, this past week, I was dealing with multi-million-dollar sales, like high stake deals I was working on. And my ability to stay cool and calm comes back from like growing up within living color and your mama jokes and people being able to take shots at me. You know what I mean? I was a white kid in a mostly black school, and that teaches you a little bit how to hold your own and without overplaying your hand, right? Like, that's a big deal, right? And holding your own without overplaying your hands, like a very difficult thing to learn, because like if I capitalize too much, it's going to hurt me, but I can't roll over either. And that's a hard thing for people to learn, but for men in particular, it's very important. How do you prove to other guys that you are no punk, but you also aren't you're also not like some dude that like just totally overreacts to everything. You know what I mean? You hear me, Corn Pop?
He's a bad dude.
So you guys know, you're sitting right here with Michael Foster. I don't know if you guys know this, but Michael Foster is one of the top card counters in the world. You guys know that, right?
No.
Top 10, man. One of the best blackjack players you'll ever meet.
There's a movie about him called Holy Rollers.
I'm telling you guys, look at that, Tony. We can make a comic book, man. You know what I mean? From violence to cards.
Once.
Look, we got the cover of the comment on Gonzo's avatar.
I just want to go on the record right now that I will only allow any comic book to be made by me if Hold the Truth Hostage is the author or artist involved. I don't care which one. He's going to be the creative force behind it, though.
Dude, and then for the cinematic universe that comes out, he's narrating.
That's right, man. Yeah,
I would watch him. I would watch it if he narrated. He's my Morgan Freeman.
And the Penguins marched. It's like whenever I think I hear Morgan Freeman, I just hear something about penguins.
Oh, we gotta go, guys. But man, how do you leave that? That's the highest note I can leave on.
What is it? Dufresne from
and
Andy Dufresne.
I would like to tell you that Andy didn't take it, but he did. Like Morgan Freeman in Shawshank Redemption.
I wanted to see my friend.
All right, you guys are awesome. Thanks for
Thank you, Michael Foster.
Right,
Appreciate it.
Michael.
Yeah.
Easy, man.
Woody Johnson. Woody Coping Johnson.
Oh, how are you guys doing? I was just having fun listening to everybody. So it was a great talk.
Welcome to the Cope Fest.
Everybody's coping tonight.
This is everybody's from the town called Copetopia.
Yep.
Or Copetown.
Copetown, yeah.
Copington. Oh, that sounds like a college.
Or a town named Covington. I mean,
no, we got the state of Coplahoma.
Oh.
Oh, we could also do Cope philosophy.
Oh yeah, we've had Cope philosophy tonight, man. I'll tell you what, it's if anybody hasn't watched or you just joined, check out at least the first 2 hours about the coping. It was to me. it brought me a lot of insight tonight. I don't know about you guys. I think Caduceus really, delivered a lot of good stuff tonight, and so did John Steele.
Hey, thanks, man.
Was on earlier. I think the word coping has become its own meme. It really has. But coping, I think, used to be a good thing. But now when I've been called a coper. I mean, I've had those comments, and I'm like, all right, let me see what this means, So I kind of dove into it and found out what it means. And I'm like, wait, I'm not coping. I don't cope about anything. I could care less. So, but let's go with Woody real quick on coping. I mean, give us your version.
Okay. All right. So in a way we do all cope because we all wish to have or be somewhere where we are not. Like, let's say someone growing up in a northern of US would find Florida wonderful, or somebody growing up in Florida would find fourth season of the northern part of US wonderful. And in a way, everybody kind of wishes to get to a place, but they don't. And if you, let's say for example, like I want to be a millionaire, and I want to make that, by my own work, by my own hands, but who knows what would happen. In a way, I'm coping, right? It's like I want to get to a place, but I have to cope and see what happens in life. So I see as coping, it's I guess it's one of the natural, how would you say, feelings or a state of a person. But I mean, if you don't have coping, like what are you gonna be depressed, or you gotta be, how you say, you gotta man up, you gotta figure stuff out in life, and instead of coping and or being in a way depressed, just I guess find better. Even if you could be coping all your life, but why not try to focus or on something else, or betterment of life overall. That's what I think.
So like the new version of coping, when I hear somebody saying he's coping, to me it says, like I had said earlier, you're bullshitting yourself. I think that's kind of the new version. I know Hold the Truth Hostage had a great stream about how words have been basically stolen. Good words. And to me, like coping, if you're coping with something, it used to be almost like a positive thing because there's so many definitions of the word. Gonzo was doing Cope Pop. Should I say Cope Pop was doing the same thing I was doing. He was looking at all the different definitions of coping. I've been doing that since I decided to, call this stream "Are You Coping?" And it's amazing how many different definitions we came up with. And you could search for all different definitions.
Well, to me, the way I look at it is there's two sides, man, and that coping, there's two sides of it. Let's say you got a broken leg, you're coping with what happened to get by. Then you have the alternative where, like Tony said, is coping is when you're setting yourself up for failure and you're accepting. I think there's two sides of coping, because, with the internet, with how fast the internet is, no word is safe anymore. I mean, with how much, like, for example, let's say Primal Man would say, for example, safety is, risking your life and having courage. And if it goes viral, all of a sudden, everybody thinks safety is risking your life and being safe, risking your life and being brave. So the dictionary used to be safe, but now with the internet and how fast people can influence each other, man, no words are safe anymore. It's become where we're in a circle talking to each other and we have our own meaning now. Coping in this circle might mean for the majority of us when, you're going through something, or the two sides. On the internet, it's you're a coward, you're a simp, you're this and that. No word is safe. So, it's the internet's influence.
One of the, I'll say the boldest statements on here tonight to me, I don't know if it hit you guys, but I don't know who said it, but it was cope or rope.
Oh,
That's pretty heavy.
yeah.
Man. That's a heavy statement.
It's deep.
Yeah, that's super deep.
Wow.
So that's a whole nother version of the word cope.
Well, it's also kind of like, if you don't cope, then it's like, what are you gonna be, depressed and broke or off yourself? However you want to say it. But that's just how it is. It's like, in the end, you gotta work through all your problems. It's part of being a man. You have to figure stuff out.
Well, I think to say what Woody's saying is that a lot of men have lost their, Michael's not here, but he brought up the tear thing, is that we men, we have an option. The danger for us with emotion is that, unlike women, we don't deal well with, emotion, overriding our logic, because it creates what I call an invisible wound. There are so many men that are suffering from an invisible wound caused by emotion. Like, they're perfectly healthy, but because they've let emotion, be it because the way they were raised or certain things like that, or society telling them they're not sensitive enough, that they get injured. And the question becomes, if you're not going to medicate these emotional wounds, then how do you heal it? And most men have gotten caught off guard. To me, as a man, you only cry when no one else is looking, or you don't even mention it because, there's a risk of them, seeing an opportunity there. Like, if Tony told me, what I'm saying, he cried a lot. Now all of a sudden, guys, the way guys we're instinctively gonna be, okay, Tony cries a little. Now we could probably, verbally attack Tony a little harder. And there's a little less respect there. So to me, a lot of guys are suffering from an invisible wound of emotion, man. And I call it the rope necklace or the wrist knife. A lot of guys are, they can't, cope with it. They can't understand that, dude. This emotional trauma you're going over, society might have played a role in it, man. A lot of guys just don't know we're being attacked on all views, man. I mean, just on this stream alone, we're talking, but we're being hit by feminism. We're being hit by other men telling us, you don't have emotions. We're being hit by so many avenues that guys are kind of losing their mind when, like Tony said, in the 90s or 80s, 70s, dude, I'm just a guy going to school. I don't have a job. I have a job. There wasn't no emotional questions. It was, dude, what are you doing today? That's it. And now, are you happy today, Tony? You know what I mean? It's crazy, man.
Yeah, we live in a different world. There was on your stream, you had said a word, and it was funny because right when you said it, I was going to throw it in the chat, but the word woke anymore is not. When you say you're woke, that word is stolen. It used to mean that you could see things, but that word is not the same anymore. The word woke.
They hijacked the word woke, like they hijacked the word pride, man. I mean, they learn to manipulate people. You got to take simple words. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, another one that was hijacked on a micro level, the word based was used as the name of the left-leaning political party at my undergraduate university during like the student government. So their political party was called Based, and it was like the least based thing in the world.
Well, base is now is actually like is the opposite of woke. If you're woke, then I guess the right side is based. Whenever they say kids and Reddit, and I heard it came from some rapper.
Little B, the bass guy.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, I guess that's what his name was, but that's where it came from. And then just everybody on the right kind of started using that. So it's not woke anymore. It's based. That's based, bro.
Based. And people say it jokingly too. It's kind of fun.
It is. But one more thing though, with this, I know how things are changing and everything is going towards more femininity. than masculinity, and you know, obviously masculinity comes with, you know, some bad, as you could say, but a lot of good. You know, but in this day and age, it's like, you know, when they use wild animals, they use a female version. They don't use a, you know, like a chimpanzee. They will use a female chimpanzee because a male one is too aggressive. You know, and also chimpanzees are the ones who conquer a lot of land. And you look at
Yeah.
bonobos, they can't, you know, they're very their body sizes and strength are similar to their female bonobos, but chimpanzees, it's a very patriarchy kind of system, I guess, and they're the ones who are stronger, smarter, and conquer way more land than bonobos could ever will. So, you know, dumbing down and also pushing a lot of the femininity is you could say part of an agenda or whatever it is, but you know, in the end, it's feminization of not just female but men.
So are you saying we're going the way of the hyena, where you can get the pseudo penis?
I mean, you know, in India, there's a body. In India, actually, TMF was talking about this. Out of the ratio, the female male ratio, body and weight, India is the closest that it comes to in a female and male body ratio, height, weight, and that country is cooked to the teeth. Like I've seen videos of guys washing their wife's feet, and oh, it was just I almost threw up, and I had to watch a cat video or something to get back to reality. To be honest,
clean the mind.
yeah, I had to clean my arteries. I had to go shower, and
you had to get the roper off your neck.
Yeah, exactly. It was so bad, so bad.
Woody had to sniff some hot sauce just to get that temperature back. But to me, you know what's funny about feminism thing? How you catch a feminist in a lie is that 1 second she'll say, "Yeah, the male line is stronger than the lioness," but you know the we're all the same. How do you flip that quickly from going to, you know, the male animals are more, you know, dominant, but no, then she flips the society. It's well, we men and women are the same. You're like, dude, that's the sign that something is wrong with you. When you can say an animal, you can identify the difference between the male animal, but you're so programmed, you know, or it doesn't matter to you that you could just say, "Yep, but but the men are less, they're more inferior," and all that.
I know. Should we hit her with the 4-letter word that we love? If she comes back, the cope.
Oh, the cope.
The cope. That's cope.
Part of waking up. It's cope in your cup.
You know what? I just realized the Obama. You remember those Obama posters? They should have just put cope on them instead of like was it like hope or something?
Yeah.
Change. Just put cope on there.
You know,
hoping for some change.
When you guys were talking, we were talking a few minutes earlier about the whole crying thing. How long ago has it been? Remember Gonzo and men coping their own way? Oh wow, primal cope. It's been what, probably 6 months. Do you remember that stream we had and we talked about that specifically for a while? Remember, like, what do you do? You know, my whole to get it out, like go out into the woods, drive your car out there and beat the hell out of the dashboard, get it out, and then come back home. And we had different points of view on that subject. Like, should a man cry in front of another man? And I was like, absolutely not. Never, never, ever.
You're showing weakness.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, do you want to do that as a man? No, probably not.
But primal man can cry because, you know, the tears will be soaked up by his beard, so it will never be seen.
You know? It reabsorbs the salts.
Nah, they just want to. The thing is this, man. They want to, and I would say anybody that's a father listening is, they want you to feminize your children so society can eat them up sooner. They don't want you to teach them traits of strength and awareness. Like Tony just said, you don't cry in front of another man. shit, I was teary eyed. I didn't cry in front of my cousin. I was like, I shut the phone and did what I had to do. But that's a private thing. That you show your best as a man. You don't show your weaknesses, man. That means you're showing your vulnerability. I mean, if a man's too sensitive, now you can prey on him. I mean, let's be honest. We men instinctively we look at each other for weaknesses. We don't even know it. We instinctively can tell when another guy is off his game. Then all of a sudden you prey on him. Your voice, your tone of voice, your demeanor changes. Oh man, I see Caduceus crying and he's being all sensitive. Now I could, my chest, pops up more and I could be more machismo. Because Caduceus is teary-eyed and soft. So there's always society just wants you to sugarcoat your male children so they're easier to manipulate. That's why you have a whole school system based on who's teaching who's the majority teachers in the school. The feeling teachers, the female teachers that teach your sons to be all feeling. And it's so bad that we speak with feelings. Like I've been training myself to remove the word like and feel out of my vocabulary because it feminizes you. Because why would he ask me, how do I get to Montana? And I'm going to tell him, well, I feel. No, I'm supposed to tell Tony, well, I think you're going to take this turn. We remove thinking in our conversations to feel. That's done a lot of damage.
I am so glad you said that because that is one word that I have removed from my vocabulary is the word feel. Well, I feel this, I feel that. And that does show weakness. You
got to pick up on the vibes, man.
Yeah. Well, I feel like you guys are very misogynistic, and this is too much. There's too much manly talk over here. How dare you? Why don't you involve women in everything in your life? Why don't we turn Boy Scouts into Girl Scouts and Girl Scouts still have their place?
Oh, yeah, dude. I remember Tony was on there. My thing with that is she brought up an idea. I think she just wanted to, maybe she was a girl that didn't have a brother. You get what I'm saying? There are some little girls that are single child that want the experience of a brother. So maybe she wanted a cross sex, scout so she could spend time with maybe that her brother's a Boy Scout, or maybe she doesn't have a brother and she wants to do scout things because some of the girls that are her friends have brothers. Sometimes it's a sibling thing. Sometimes, but what the media did is they, and the feminist agenda did is, well, we should abolish, the male scouts instead of just, why not just have a cross gender, man?
Now it's femme scouts and cookie scouts.
Oh man, they weaponize the children's emotion. The kid doesn't know what the hell she's doing. She probably just wanted to spend time. They didn't even tell you her whole story. Is she a single child? Does she have a lot of male, siblings or cousins? And maybe she's alone and looking for time to spend with a boy around her age to be kind of like a brother.
And maybe she just wanted to hike instead of selling cookies or whatever they do.
So instead, the media comes and the agenda comes. Yeah, we should abolish the Boy Scouts because a girl wants to be in the Boy Scouts. She's really just saying, can we have a a boy and Girl Scouts where they're united together? Nope, abolish the male version, because it's illegal for men to not have female validation. That's what they're doing, man. It's fucking crazy.
Well, it's like this, right? Boys build a treehouse, girls come in and they ruin the treehouse, and then the treehouse is because parents force girls to, or your sisters to get in the treehouse. Now there's no more boy space no more, and even though boys build that treehouse, but the government, the authority, the parents, they come in and now they want everybody to share the treehouse. But why don't girls, go make their own treehouse,
Yeah. Like there was a club that I was in university where just the guys naturally had like a chat where like, hey, you guys want to go get a beer or something like that, or go maybe like go like airsoft, go like paintballing, stuff like that. And the girls found out about it, and they're like, "This club is getting misogynistic. The guys are all talking, and like they're all just talking trash about us." Like, we're not. We just have something to set up where we can go get a beer without hearing about petty drama.
Well, it's illegal to live without female validation, man. That's what the country's become. If what they want to do is emotionalize, and it doesn't help men, man. For us, we're already drinking birth control water. You know what I'm saying? We're already feminized already. Now you want us to be too emotional. I mean, 5 years from now, me and Tony gonna be talking, and a male scout, that's what they call him, will come. Hey guys, do y'all want to help the scouts out? I sewed a rose together. you know, you know what I mean? Just gonna look at him like, so you're a scout for sewing flowers together? You can't start a fire. They're basically turning men to absolute dependency on society, man. Because a Boy Scout could start a fire, like Tony was saying. You could cook, you could hunt. You were self-efficient. You didn't need no one to validate you. Could besides your skills. Your skills validated you. Now they want your validation to be society. So they had to eliminate that, man. Yeah.
Well, but it's also like, you know, I don't know how. I mean, I know it doesn't affect, you know, men you know, better. I do see that any space that men would have, you know, not like we have over here, but you know, like it could be sports, it could be Boy Scouts, it could be anything. They just want, you know, just females come in and talk about whatever bullshit that they're gonna talk about, you know, like their periods, or, you know, getting drunk and being on drugs and stuff. It's like, why can't we just have, you know, our own space without, you know? And in a way, I do see it is a problem of men, you know, not just today and also in the past generation, that they do let this happen, you know, because ultimately men do create the society, and men do let this happen to themselves.
Yeah, that's what Primal Cope talks about. Right, exactly what you said there, Woody.
Mm-hmm. Which is very true, but it's a sad state that we're living in right now, and, you know, in the end, we got to figure out what we can do and not. You know, it's just yeah, it's kind of looking like it's inevitable.
I just Caduceus here, notorious COPE.
Oh yeah,
notorious Cope. Well, man, it's like that thing I said, dude. Men are gonna evolve, and we're going Casper, man. You're gonna ghost society, man. We're gonna go full-time ghost, and that means you have no attachment to society at all. What they don't get there doing is, when you back a man into a mental corner, we do something that we were taught years ago. What did they tell us in kindergarten? If you ignore them, they used to tell us ignore. And what did ignore evolve to? Ghosting.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Ghosting is basically when you choose to ignore certain people based on a certain requirement. You know, they didn't ignore means they're the ones who initiate something for you to ignore. But ghosting is literally you ignoring people. And what they've done is they've backed men in a corner. And what men are doing, like you got Primal Man and Gonzo, where they do their own stream on the religious aspect, they're going there, you know, they're ghosting what society would tell them to do. And they're reading the original testament or the new one, but they're not sugarcoating it. So what's going on is, I think in the next 5 years, especially as, you know, the boys are becoming men, like a boy, like right now on Tony's stream, Tony might not know, there might be a boy 15 years old, listen to your streams, and you literally loaded his mind up with the knowledge of like a 30-year-old man. So now that boy at 15 is going through school with a mindset of a 30-year-old man. So he's literally now full-time. He's Caspering the whole school system. He doesn't care about going to prom. He knows what's coming. It's like you didn't spoil life, but you basically told him all the traps. And once he knows all the traps, You know, it's like you're walking in a minefield and you know where all the mines are. How you'll never get hit. You'll never. So a lot of these boys are being armed with this knowledge, and they're breeding a new level of boy that will become a man that just he's gonna Casper and ghost society, man. He's gonna ghost the entire thing. Nothing will affect this boy. You know, suicide. I mean, yeah, YouTube don't like that. I mean, a rope necklace and a wrist knife will go down because guys, once you ghost society, you don't care about its validation anymore. You know what I'm saying? I don't care what they tell me, man. I don't look forward to none of this crap. Be emotional, be more loving, and doing this and that. It don't mean nothing. You know, water under the bridge. It don't mean nothing.
Well, guys, I'm going to start wrapping it up. I'm going to go around the panel here, but I want everybody's kind of, we'll start with Coping Coper.
Hey, what's up?
What did you pull from this stream tonight as far as coping? I mean, we talked about a lot of stuff. There's a lot of fun too, a lot of laughing, a lot of great terms with the word cope tonight. Just, you know.
Yeah, there's many ways you can cope. I think there's many ways to look at coping. I think the biggest thing that went under my nose was that the evolution of the word. I didn't even realize the word had changed, which I think is kind of like, well, if this word just changed, what about the other words? Let's look at the other words that have changed very recently. Because I think part of that is also it can be used as a tool to get people thinking, you know, one way and keep them laser focused on that. But yeah, I think there's many layers to cope, and I think the negative type of coping is something that needs to be addressed, obviously.
Yeah, because realistically, if somebody was to go in the chat, say, "Hey, Gonzo, you're coping," now you would look at that and you'd look at it kind of sideways and say, "What?" You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So the word has changed. Normally, if you would say, "Hey, he's coping," you would say, "Okay, he had a problem and he's dealing with it." So the definition of the word coping has two sides.
Yeah. Coping used to be like competence, right? And so I think if we're going to look at it that way, then we should all be coping. We should all be like super copers, right? We should be like top of our game, cope masters.
Copenomics.
Well, we are. We're on.
Yeah.
We're hosting this show.
Well, exactly. So that, but you know, on the flip side of that, we need to be. I don't know what the opposite of a cope is. If you know, cope is like this negative thing that it is now. I don't know what you would call it.
A repression, maybe?
A zoom.
The zoom.
A zoom. Like the zoomer?
Oh.
There you go.
Yeah. I guess we just got to be based. All of us
call
just
it a
be
zoom.
Based.
Oh, yeah.
Based zooms.
Based?
Based?
Yeah. See, now you can't write those types of like help books like how to cope with the death of a loved one, how to cope with having children or something, you know. Like you can't write those anymore.
Chicken soup for the cope.
Yeah, chicken cope.
Cope and Campbell's, you know, Cope and Campbell's soup.
Campbell's chicken cope.
Oh, there. Campbell's.
Hey man, I cope all the time. taking family out for a steak, and not taking a girl out. So I'm coping all the time, you know. So.
Well, Cream of Cope, let's get your final words.
It was fun. It was nice to laugh. It was a good stream that we all laughed and had a good time.
Now, Caduceus, I'm trying to think of the great imitation he did earlier. Who was it?
Oh, the Bane.
Oh, Bane. Yeah. Could you do that one more time? Because that was.
I could try. It does not matter who we are, but what matters is our plan. I do Sandman as well.
Okay.
Do the Sandman.
I heard you do before. Yeah.
Hey, everybody. Sandman here. We're on the Tony Bruno stream talking about coping.
That's too good. On how many of his videos did you watch?
I didn't watch that many. I just kept having the ad of him like doing the Zuck the duck drinks water like Zuck the cuck drinks water like a duck. I heard that one like a million times. So I started doing Sandman impersonation.
You forgot to mention swing swang.
Oh, anyone who hates us can suck their own swing.
This stream comes from a donation from Coping.
Yeah, but I know that's not his real voice, so it's just kind of.
Really though? Is that...
Well, if you watch his older videos, like this intro one, his voice is pretty normal, and then now he does the weird cadence thing.
I can't remember who it was. I feel like somebody said that was his legit voice, but I don't remember who it was. Yeah, I don't remember who it was.
We got a question here. What is coping? He's new. Well, I'm going to take you back to the first 2 hours, and you'll find out what coping is for sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's really the best part of waking up is coping in your cup.
Yeah, and then there's copium is a common.
Copium.
Yo, we're starting it right here, right now. Tony, we're starting the cope coin. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Cope coin.
Caduceus, any last words on coping?
I mean, yeah, traditionally coping's a good thing, and we're all coping technically. We're finding the truth and we're adapting. I think where people initially were saying coping is bad in some ways, when people are trying to tell the truth, and other people are like, no, you're bullshitting me. You're coping when you say that. So it's just kind of evolved from there. Mm-hmm. And then with the point of language changing, another aspect is that you're isolating groups where like one group, one word means one thing, and another group it means something. It just separates us. So whoever wants to control can just divide and conquer and pit us all against each other.
That's a really good way to put it too. Like you said, one group has that word and another group has, takes that same word and it means completely something else. So, and that was really the inspiration for this stream. I mean, I thought about this. I mean, between, our group text with Gonzo and Primal Cope, I mean, we've been joking about this for days. It's been going on for days. The word cope is at my job site on my construction business. You
guys are coping for days.
Oh,
Dream of cope. That's too good.
I mean, I had told a friend of mine and customer she is today, and when the vanity didn't fit, and she was trying to tell me that it will fit, I said, "You're coping." So great. That word has been very popular in my vocabulary for the past week and in group text and things like that. So, but Woody, let's go to you. Any last words on coping?
Well, Tony, that's pretty based, I would say, and don't let anybody talk about your head. It's brighter than most people's future, and you can just headbutt anybody now.
It just reflect the light, and you could blind someone. That's a godly power.
Exactly. You're how do you say? You're bald maxing, and you are.
Yeah. Skin maxing.
Yeah, exactly. It's a great stream, and appreciate you having me on. And I mean, the best smallest way I could describe, anything about cope is either cope or rope, and coping doesn't go anywhere. You just gotta, find, I guess, different, just find different motivations in life than just focusing on coping, if anything.
Great words. Appreciate you, man. Hold the truth hostage. We're going to finish up with you.
All right, I got you, man. This one for coping, just give me a moment. Just, what I'm saying? I'm going to give you all the trailer, man. It's funded in association with the Tony Pill Studios. We present. Give me a minute. Tony was in the forest. He was the only Boy Scout left. When the Girl Scouts surrounded Tony, he said, "Bruno." Tony's back, and this time, he will not cope. When Tony's friend Michael becomes a preacher from the last beating a man with a steel bat. Tony's back. When Tony wipes his hair with the grease, violence. This time, 2022, Tony presents There Will Be No Coping. Rated R.
I love it.
There you go.
That was good.
That's a man.
He's a Morgan Freeman of this side of the community.
Yeah.
Of this side of the network fears.
I see that.
Well, what a great stream, guys, and I appreciate everybody in the chat, and I appreciate all you guys who came on tonight, man. This makes it all worth it. It really does every time. We get out some, just some great talks and had some good laughs tonight too, which is really important,
Yeah.
But I thought
it's a great cope.
Yeah, it's a great cope. Exactly.
I've got a cope to present everybody to end the show tonight. I brought a
let's
cope.
do it.
Backstage, I think you can.
Backstage.
It's the classic cope.
Oh, backstage. Okay.
Yeah.
Got you.
Oh, if one of y'all are good with what is that, Photoshop? If you could make a Coca-Cola can.
I'll do it.
Gonzo will do it. He'll have it done in 5
Yeah,
minutes.
that Mr. Clean thing was hilarious. But.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I just got some copium.
Thank you, Tony. An honor, man. Let the man rest.
All right,
Yes,
guys.
sir.
I appreciate everybody, man. Good
Tony,
time.
just don't, whatever you do, man, don't dig up that suitcase with the jacket, the hair gel in the backyard. We want you to stay a peaceful man, please, Tony.
Oh, I will.
I got one last thing to say.
He's got his hand on the button and he's just like, God damn it, Gene.
No, I'm just banning people. That's all.
Do you cope who I am?
How much do you cope, brother?
That's right.
All righty, I'll see you guys, man.
All right. I just want to say, guys, it's been an absolute great stream. One thing real quick. It was
Amazing. Amazing.
cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Take care.
Later.
Later.